I will say that before I embarked on this project with my chapter, I really didn't think about my kidneys. I think about my heart, I think about my liver, I think about brain health, but the kidneys are just something that we don't always give enough love to, but that is going to change now. So I would like next to introduce Dr. Cheryl Rue. She is the president of the Beverly Hills West chapter of the Lynx, and Kimberly Noble, president of the Los Angeles chapter of the Lynx. Please welcome these two fabulous women to the stage.
Right, I'm Dr. Cheryl Rue. How's everybody today? All right, I'm good. And this is Kimberly Noble.
Kimberly Beavers Noble. Welcome, everyone. Wonderful seeing you. All right, and so on behalf of the Los Angeles chapter of the Lynx Incorporated and the Beverly Hills West chapter of the Lynx Incorporated, we are honored to welcome each and every one of you here on this lovely, beautiful day. Isn't it a beautiful day the Lord has made today? Yes. And so you could have chosen any number of things to do today, but you chose to come here. And we are so excited because there is much in store for you today as we further hone our knowledge for kidney care. All right, so at this time, I'm going to begin here. The Lynx Incorporated is an international, not-for-profit corporation established in 1946. It is one of the nation's oldest and largest volunteer service organizations committed to enriching, sustaining, and ensuring the culture and economic survival of African Americans and other people of African ancestry. The Lynx Incorporated has a long tradition of promoting and engaging in educational, civic, and intercultural activities that enrich the lives of members of the Black community at large. Our service is divided amongst 5 facets, one of which is health and human services.
The Lynx Incorporated established the Health and Human Service facet in response to the chronic health disparities that persist in Black communities and result in the decreased life expectancy of African Americans and other people of African ancestry. The goal of HHS is to promote and facilitate programs that support the maintenance of good health and the elimination of chronic health diseases in our communities through education, health advocacy, and optimal utilization of health resources. So the Lynx Incorporated partnered with Baxter Pharmaceuticals in 2021. Baxter has contributed over $1.4 million to the Lynx Incorporated in a 2-year period, providing support and targeting where there is a disproportionately high prevalence of chronic kidney disease in Black communities. Kidneys. How many of you know what kidneys do? Do you know where your kidneys are located on your body? What exactly are all the things the kidneys do, and why should we care, right? Well, we should care because Black Americans make up approximately 13% of the population. However, we account for 35% of the people with kidney failure in the United States. That's significant. Let me say that one more time. So we are 13% of the population, but we have 35% of kidney failure. I'm not even talking about chronic kidney disease. There is a reason why in our communities we have a multitude of dialysis centers, right? A multitude. Today you will learn about chronic kidney disease, also what we will be calling CKD, that's chronic kidney disease, and how to prevent it or slow the progression if you already have it. Awareness and knowledge will empower you to take charge of your own care with your healthcare team. So before we continue, we want you to meet our partners. We have spiritual partners, community partners, and healthcare partners. Our spiritual partner, well, where are we? We're at Fame Church of Los Angeles. In 2012, Pastor J. Edgar Boyd decided to move back down to Los Angeles to serve as the senior pastor for the First American Methodist Episcopal Church. While in Los Angeles, the pastor has become an outspoken critic of social injustice. And we can witness that, right, over the past 2 years, and we thank him, we thank God for him. He continues to fight against injustice and advocate for community development. Today, representing Pastor Boyd is Ms. Vicki Franklin, the chair of the Health Commission, which has worked closely with the Beverly Hills West chapter of the Links Incorporated and the Los Angeles chapter of the Links Incorporated. She has been a member of Fame Church since 1986 and the chair of the Health Commission since 2015. Ms. Franklin, would you like to address us or say a few words?
Thank you. Good morning. On behalf of Pastor J. Edgar Boyd and First Lady Florence Boyd, we welcome you to Fame Church, and we hope that you come back. We have been very involved with the community and doing many things, not only just health related, but, you know, as she said, Pastor is very active in the community on everything. I want to thank Dr. Ruth K.A.R.E, the Beverly Hills chapter, and the LA chapter of the Links for bringing this very important topic to Fame Church and to the community, because it is very important. It's near and dear to me because both my parents died of kidney disease, and it's in our family, so it's very a very good topic. I just want to welcome everyone again and enjoy yourself. And just to let you know that we are reopening our church on April 2nd to 2 services. So if you feel free to come and join us, do it 8 and 10 a.m. So again, thank you again and welcome.
All right. And thank you, Ms. Franklin, and thank you to Fame for having us here today. Our healthcare partner is Watts Healthcare Corporation. The Watts Healthcare Board appointed Watts Healthcare's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Oliver T. Brooks, to assume the role of Interim Chief Executive Officer since this year. Dr. Brooks has been with the Watts Healthcare since 1989 and previously served as the Medical Director and Chief of Pediatric and Adolescent Medicine and still holds the title of Chief Medical Officer. Dr. Brooks holds staff appointments at Centinela Hospital in Inglewood and Martin Luther King Community Hospital in South Los Angeles. Dr. Brooks holds a degree in chemistry from Morehouse College and a medical degree from Howard University College of Medicine. In 2019, Dr. Brooks was elected to the office of President of the National Medical Association, which represents Black doctors nationally. I also want to add he's married to a wonderful woman, Lisa Brooks. Dr. Brooks? You want to say something?
Well, thank you for that warm welcome, Dr. Rue. I do have a connecting link, Lisa Brooks. That's my real claim to fame. We're really happy to be here as a partner. It is imperative that we understand what the kidney is and what it does to us and how failing with your kidney function is a significant health issue, probably actually the largest one in African Americans. I mean, maybe beating out cardiovascular heart disease, but they work together. You have an excellent panel here. I see even some in the audience who might want to add a little bit. Dr. Maxey, past president NMA. Dr. Rich Allen Williams, past president NMA. So we're happy to be here, happy to support, I think, the spiritual along with the health work together, and that's how you really get your true health, your spiritual health and your physical health. So thank you for hosting this, and thank you for having us here.
All right, thank you, Dr. Brooks. Our community healthcare partner is African American Families. The African American Families was founded in 1992 and was originally funded by the Center for Disease Control, also we call the CDC, to investigate low birth weight and infant mortality in African American women in Los Angeles. Since then, healthy African American families has grown into a multifaceted nonprofit community agency. And I believe they do not have a representative here today, but we wanted to make sure we mentioned them. So along with our spiritual partners, our community partners, and our healthcare partners, all are needed for this community, our communities, Black communities, to thrive. And what else is needed? Well, the members of the Links Incorporated. And I'm going to ask all the Links Incorporated to please stand. We are all wearing shirts today, so you will recognize us. If you need any help, whether it's from our vendors or just sitting at your seat, please reach out, because we are here to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly Noble and Cheryl Rue. I really want everybody to digest that statistic. We are 13% of the population, and we make up 35% of those diagnosed with kidney failure. And as Dr. Rue pointed out, that doesn't even include people who are dealing with chronic kidney disease. I cannot think of a better location than this historic edifice to start changing the dynamic and changing our health story. Because if we don't take care of each other, promise you, nobody else is. Next, I would like to introduce Laurel Leitner to the stage. She is project director for the K.A.R.E project of the Los Angeles chapter of the Links. And she is going to explain something very special to you. Please join me in welcoming Laurel Leitner.
Thank you all, and good morning. I am very happy to explain to you 3 little favors that we ask of all of our participants. You see people passing out sheets of paper. We need to know, we need to be able to test ourselves and find out how successful we are in raising your awareness about kidney care. And so what we've done is there is a piece of paper that you will be given. It's called the pretest. It's called the pretest. Oh, thank you. And fill this pretest out. For filling this pretest out, we will reward you with a raffle with lots of really fun items in them. Then, after our speaker panel, we will have a post-test, which is exactly the same as the pretest, so don't be surprised. It is for us to measure how much information you've actually received from us. We will pass them out, and we will collect them. So please make sure that you take your pretest. There's also a demographic form, which lets you fill out your demographics so that we can know how many people in the community and what ages we have actually affected. So you should have pins in your little swag bags, and we would like you to fill those out. We will collect those before the speakers begin, and then we will exchange that with the post-test. Thank you all.
One of the things that we're going to learn today and hear about is how important our lifestyles are to keeping our kidneys healthy. It sounds so trite. It sounds like a cliche. You hear it all the time. Diet and exercise, diet and exercise. It matters, and people say it all the time because it's real. So to that point, I brought an example of this green juice. I know y'all have seen this in the store. It is mightily expensive. And if you think about how the lack of healthy options often correlates to why so many of us are suffering from kidney disease, it's because of the fact that we always don't have access to the cleanest food, to the juice that costs as much as people can serve a family of 5. You can buy dinner at a fast food restaurant for a family of 5, probably for less than this bottle of juice costs. So we have someone here who is going to show you how we can do it ourselves. How you can, at home, for less than this expensive bottle, I want to make sure I'm not showing the label so they don't get mad at me. For less than this expensive bottle, you can actually make your own clean juice at home. And here to show us how is April Sims. We have a juicing demonstration just here to my right, ladies and gentlemen. So please take a look. And please welcome April Sims.
Pay attention, thank you. That's where I really started to pay attention to health. My father, the late great Larry Sims, was a general contractor, 333 Construction, one of the largest black-owned construction companies in South Los Angeles. He died of lung disease, lung cancer. So I've been on a quest for helping. I did my best to help my dad, and unfortunately that help didn't work. But I love helping people, and so now I am the proprietor of April's Life in a Bottle. I make fresh, raw, cold-pressed, unpasteurized, fresh juice. And unpasteurized and fresh is like getting it off the vine, washing it, chopping it up, and consuming it. That's what it means. My juices are designed to be sold in food deserts, in food insecure areas, because as our hostess said earlier, in our communities typically, we have junk. And then when we do have the availability of fresh juices, they cost, like she said, $20 a bottle. And I'm not gonna lie, eating fresh it's crazy, but it is expensive. Processed stuff, junk, things that are empty calories. I think you can feed a family of 4 at McDonald's for like less than $20 or something like that. But my juices, these are my juices, and these are just little 4-ounce samples. Please shake them up when you drink them. But I really wanted you to be able to look at them, look at the separation, smell them. You can smell the ingredients. I was so pleased to be asked to do this demonstration for you today that I spent a long time researching ingredients that would be designed to be the best optimal drink for you to make at home for yourselves. And because I'm aware of the myriad of health problems that our community has, in addition to kidney disease, we suffer from hypertension, circulatory issues, eliminatory issues, high inflammation, high sodium, and things like that. So the 4 ingredients, the 4 simple ingredients in this juice are red delicious apple, which is readily available in our local stores, red bell pepper, which is the highest form of vitamin C that you can get, higher than orange juice. And I know we use green peppers, right, and our green beans and our collard greens and things like that. But the red bell pepper, the curly kale, the green kale that we see in the grocery store, as well as blueberries. Blueberries, high antioxidant. Blueberry is excellent, excellent, excellent for kidney health and for kidney functioning. So these ingredients together are a really good juice to drink. Normally I would put a preservative, a natural preservative like ginger, turmeric, citrus, orange, lemon, or something like that, but these are fresh. So you need to drink it all down by tomorrow, okay? I lovingly made these juices for each and every one of you. I hope you enjoy them, and then I'm going to do a quick demonstration on showing you how to make the juice. I also went to the local Rouse by my house on Obama and La Brea, and I bought all the ingredients, and my bill was $9.27. So for $9.27, you can make many servings for yourself at home. And if you're allergic to blueberries or can't find blueberries, get strawberries. If you can't find strawberries, get raspberries. Can't find raspberries, get blackberries. Get some berry. If you don't want to do kale because you're not familiar with kale, get collard greens, right? Get the turnips. Get mustard greens. If you don't want to do apple or you're allergic to apple, get pineapple. So there are lots and lots and lots of alternatives for us to do. My grandmother was a juicer, and I didn't appreciate that at the time that I was growing up. I couldn't stand that raw stuff because I was a McDonald's kid, right? I love me a Big Mac and fry and a Coca-Cola. But I'm so appreciative now of the knowledge that I got, I guess, through osmosis with my grandmother juicing. So I'm going to make the juice for you, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions. So thank you very much for your time. Yes. Oh.
I'll get him.
Okay. All right. So when you're at home, and because I think there's enough juices for the committee to have, right?
Yes.
It's really important to get vegetable wash, produce wash. Produce wash looks like this. You can buy it at the Campbell Rouse, the same Rouse on the house. There's so many preservatives that's put on the produce that we get from the market. It's really not clean. And just rinsing it like we normally do at home really is quite good. Produce wash. The other thing is, everybody doesn't have a blender. That's fine. But we all, everybody doesn't have a juicer. And that's really fine. But all of us have blenders at home, right? Everybody's got a blender. Use a blender. If you don't have a blender, you can mash, right? You can mash. So we know that we can do things to make this juice. For your apples, you want to start with one whole apple. Normally, you can slice it with the apple slicer, or you can use the apple core, or you can do the old-fashioned way, how your grandma did, just, cut it and, cut those seeds out, right? Oops, well, this table's a little wobbly, so I'll just go ahead and just cut this straight. So you just cut up your apple, chop it up into small pieces. The other thing about using fresh products, they smell so good. The aroma of fresh is so very, very different. I really like to have fresh orange juice in the mornings, and oftentimes my commercial kitchen is on 62nd and Gage, and a lot of times I won't bring any fresh oranges home so I can make orange juice, and I'll run to the market and get like Simply Orange or something. And after 2 sips, I got to stop drinking it because there's a marked difference between fresh and not fresh. There's a marked difference between things that have preservatives and additives, and the body really knows the difference. This is the curly kale. So this is the kale that's mostly readily available in our markets at home. There's several different types of kale. There's the black kale, or the dinosaur kale. There's this kale. There's the purple kale. This is the best kale for using for juices because kale has a real strong, pungent taste and odor. This kale is pretty mild, and the taste is pretty good and really mild, and I really prefer using this kale. Kale is also the king, or queen, I should say, of the green leafies. So it's really, really hardy, really strong and powerful. And like I said, if you don't want to use kale, use collard greens, but use a green leafy. We also want to use the stems. A lot of times, we've been taught not to use stems, but please use the stems, as the stems are really good for you as well. On the bell peppers, sometimes the bell peppers can be really sweet, and I know a lot of times we like sweet, and this is like good sweet. So for people that have a sweet tooth like myself, you might want to add more red bell pepper. If you don't want too much sweet, add less. If you want more apple, if you're having some elimination issues, you can add lots of apple because apple is very, very good for the eliminatory system. It's best to make this drink in the morning, and you want to use a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of fresh blueberries or your fresh berries. Most of the berries that you buy in the market comes like in a pint or 11 ounces. And because I'm not juicing this and I'm actually like blending this, I am going to add water. Typically to the juices that I make for April's Life in a Bottle, I don't use water. Everything is 100% just juice. Thank you so much. And thank you. I appreciate you, Tony. I'm going to add a cup of water here. And then that's it. So the hardest part is just washing the vegetables. This is my very first live demonstration, so how am I doing? Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So here we go. Okay, and this is really it. And you can see by the consistency that it's a little thick, right? Much thicker than the juices that you had. But this is it. And if you wanted it, if you have, if anyone struggling with their digestive system and they can't drink things that are thick or smoothie-like, you can use a strainer or a cheesecloth and mash it through a little bit more to make it more liquefied. And you can also add more water to make it a little more liquidy, okay? But the bottom line is get the juice in your body. Get the juice in your body. And the card, I really wanted, this is so near and dear to my heart. My daughter is my graphic artist. She's a graphic artist and an artist. She really felt this program as well. And I asked her to do just a simple recipe card for me, right? I just told her the recipe and said, type up the recipe card, let me just print it off, right? I thought she could do it in 24 hours. This is a 14-hour labor of love for my daughter. She lovingly drew these kidneys. She lovingly did all the wording because she wanted to be able to give each and every one of you a gift of love. The words that my daughter wrote here on this side were thought about and prayed over for you. She wants us to all, including her mom, to remember to take care of ourselves, to love ourselves, and it starts with what we put in our mouths, right? What we put in our mind and what we put in our mouths and what we put on our persons as well. And oftentimes, we're really busy. I'm busy like all the rest of us. I'm 61, and I've been starting to feel a little funny, quirky aches and pains here and there, which lets me know that, A, I have way too much sugar, right? I was doing that whole Starbucks thing every single morning with the avocado shot of espresso with the extra caramel, right? I got my kombucha in my bag now because I'm stopping the Starbucks addiction, doing the kombucha because it has the digestive enzymes or probiotics, and I'm including more water in my diet. So all of us need to do a better job, and we all can do this. Anybody that's here that's struggling with kidney issues or kidney concerns, this day has been designed specifically for you. So please utilize all the experts that are here, over here, the panel behind us. My information is, I think you all are getting a copy of my brochure and the swag bags. My kitchen is literally on 62nd and Avalon. We all know where the hood is. I'm happy to make deliveries. You can purchase juices from my website. You can also purchase juices from Earl's Grill on Crenshaw, Hot and Cool Cafe in Leimert Park, Dr. Goss's Spot, New Earth Health Foods in Compton, locally Market in Hollywood, Extra Vegan Market in the Fairfax District near Melrose and across from the, the Grove, and on my website. So I'm happy to serve you. If you have any questions, you can send me email. I like helping, and I want to see us healthy and strong because we built this country, and things are really happening around us. And, we need to really be strong, and we need to set a better example for the people, the youths that are coming behind us. So I thank you very, very much for your time. I thank you for your attention. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Any questions, anybody? Hey. Thank you very much, and enjoy this day. And for the links, ladies, I have juices for you, so we can get them over here.
Good morning again. While we're getting set up for our panel, we need April to come back over here for a quick photo op, and we need our president of LA chapter here, our Beverly Hills chapter, and our chairs. So April, if you could join us, please, at the podium.
Thank you. And the other thing is I'm a proud Bison, so I'm a proud graduate of Howard University.
Oh, great. So is my husband.
All right. Okay. So is my ex-husband and my son.
Cheryl and Kimberly. Someone from LA chapter, please come forward.
Link Laurel.
And we just want to say thank you.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
A lot on how to do it right, and so I'm hoping we take these great tips this morning.
Please do. They're life-saving, and they're easy.
So it's absolutely true what April Sims said. It sometimes costs a little more to eat clean and to eat the way that our bodies would like us to, but we are worth it, and our bodies are worth it. And frankly, I feel like we have to give one more shout out to this black woman-owned business who went into the community to remedy the problem of not having good food options. Someone gave me a bottle. This is the bottle I'll be waving around from now on. This juice is delicious, delicious. I was gonna just have a little sip, but you see how that went. Next up I have the pleasure of introducing another member of the Beverly Hills West chapter of the Lynx. She is an associate professor at Charles Drew University, an HIV specialist, and co-chair of the BIPOC Committee of the Academy of Integrative Medicine. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jean Davis.
Good morning and welcome again, and thank you so much for coming together to improve the health of our community. I have an amazing panel for you to hear now. We have 5 spectacular persons, starting out with Dr. I'm so sorry, we have to wait for the pretest because we can't give you the information prior to the pretest. So let's give us a couple of minutes to get the pretest done.
That's my apologies, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to complete the pretest, and in the meantime, we're going to pick up our pretests. And while we're picking up the pretest, we have a very exciting moment, a raffle. The first raffle of the afternoon will be done by Lisa Grant of the Beverly Hills West chapter.
Does everyone have their raffle tickets ready, or do we want to give you a couple minutes to do the pre-test?
Okay. Sure.
So just a reminder about the survey, there are 2 sheets. The first one is the demographic sheet, and the second one is the pretest. So if you could please fill out both of them, and then we'll pick them up.
Yeah. If you finished, can you please hold them up so that we can collect and know that everybody's done? If you finished both sides, please hold it up and we will collect it promptly. Thank you very much. There's one in the back. Has everybody completed? Are we ready for the raffle? Are we ready for the raffle? Oh, everybody have their, can you hold your tickets up? Everybody got their tickets?
For our first raffle, this is from April's Life in a Bottle that we just heard the great presentation on. They say nothing in life is free. And while we like to counter with what about kindness and empathy, the truth is being kind and caring for others takes energy, something we don't always have. So we decided to offer a totally free thing that will not only increase your energy level, but will also inspire kindness to yourself and others. Here's a 4-pack of juice on us. The only catch is that you consider spreading the wealth and sharing with someone you love. Ticket number 2396371. 2396371. All right. All right, so we have one more from April's Life in a Bottle. So let me pull out the lucky number 2396379. 2396379. Woo. All right, next we have some grocery store gift certificates for $25 from Ralph's. Lucky number 2396341. 2396341. 2396341. No? Okay, I'll pick another ticket. Next we have 2396373. 2396373. No? Okay. We got to get a winner. Next we have 2396400. 2396400. I see a hand. All right, so our next up is 2396353. 2396353. All right. Okay, we have two more. So we have 2396481. Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't say that right. 2396348. 2396348. Going once, twice. 2396348. All right, we're moving on to lucky number 2396359. 2396359. All right, where are our winners? Okay. This one doesn't look like it was connected. All right, so we have 2396393. All right. So we have one more at $25, and just to know, if you stay, these prizes are going to keep going up. So you definitely want to stay for the entire day. Our final morning raffle, 2396357. All right, woo! All right, so that's Trish. All right.
Thank you, and congratulations to our winners. And remember what Lisa said, more prizes, stay all day. It's only going to keep getting better. And so that announcement, the introduction I did earlier, that was just a commercial. Let me reintroduce and bring back to the stage Dr. Jean Davis.
Thank you so much. And once again, thank you so much for joining us as we work together to improve the health of our community. We have 5 spectacular speakers. We're going to start off with Dr. Randall Maxey. Dr. Randall Maxey is a nephrologist, and he's going to talk to us about kidney disease in the Black community, looking at the variant in the APO1 gene, and also talking about the importance of the glomerular filtration rate. Those of you who've had this test before, on the lab results, it says white, non-white. So we're going to talk about why that's the difference between us, because we all know how Black are we. The next one we're going to talk about is Dr. Richard Allen Williams. Richard is a mentor and a good friend of mine. He is a founder of the American Black Cardiologists Association and was the first Black full professor at UCLA. Richard's going to talk about prevention. Yes, please applaud on that. That's amazing. Richard is going to talk about prevention and the impact of hypertension on kidney disease. Our next amazing speaker is Dr. Anita Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell is going to talk about the, pardon me? Pardon me? Woo-woo, okay. Dr. Anita Mitchell, she's going to talk about the impact of diabetes on kidney disease. And please remember, the 2 leading causes of kidney disease in our community is hypertension and diabetes. Both of them we can control. This stuff about grandmother had it, grandpa had it, it's not valid. We can control this through our lifestyle. The next speaker is going to be Dr. Vincent Anthony. Dr. Anthony is also a nephrologist, and he's going to talk about early intervention and prevention and treatment for kidney disease. And our last speaker is most amazing, and I entitled her speak, Walking the Walk. Ms. Ajuri is going to talk about the path that she's gone through with kidney disease, from dialysis to kidney transplant. So please give a round of applause for all 5 of our speakers. Dr. Maxey?
Good morning, everybody. Since I'm in a church, I'll try to follow the protocols of church. I wanted to give honor to my elder teacher, Dr. Richard Williams, who I met when I was a sophomore in medical school, who gave me my first opportunity to put a chapter in a book, Black-Related Diseases. So I thank Dr. Richard Allen Williams. Dr. Anita Mitchell is a good friend of mine, one of the primary doctors that I tried to follow in her footsteps. Dr. Vincent Anthony is one of the youngest, smartest nephrologists you've ever met. So giving honor to all of the speakers that I know. So you can say that I'm a poster child of being too busy to take care of yourself. I was interested in starting dialysis centers in Puerto Rico, which is the only place that has an incidence of diabetes and renal failure that's higher than African Americans. Not knowing why I couldn't see street signs when I was driving, but I figured that I would do that in a few weeks when I came back. Not understanding that the pressure in my eyes was going abnormally high. And I had undiagnosed glaucoma, and now I have about 30% of my sight. So that's not good. We can get too busy and too important, so let that be a lesson. We're going to talk about kidney disease in African Americans, and we know that African Americans have about 3.5 times more kidney disease than anybody else. Now, I presume we're showing slides. If you can imagine a map of the United States with a smile, and I'm going to call that a tragic smile, going from the southwest to the southeast, to the northeast. And we did a small area analysis looking at places where in those zip codes, the rate of diabetes, hypertension, and renal failure was more than 50% of the national average. Those are the places that we want to start dialysis centers. Why? That's where black people live. So you don't want to start one in Minnesota necessarily, or in South Dakota, but in that area where the smile is, the tragic smile. So there are a number of major risk factors that lead to kidney disease, and especially end-stage renal disease. They include hypertension, diabetes, a family history, obesity, smoking, age, especially if you're over 60, and ethnicity. Is anybody in here black? You're at risk. Now, sometimes when I talk, I say, if you know anybody that has high blood pressure, raise your left hand. If you know anybody that has diabetes, raise your right hand and keep them up. And look around. Look around. It's almost a shame what's going on in our communities. Now, the incidence varies according to racial groups, but blacks have the highest part of renal failure. Now, there's a disease called chronic kidney disease, and there's a disease called end-stage renal disease. Chronic renal disease is that pathway going to renal failure. In the United States, renal disease is a $60+ million industry. There are two big companies. One is DaVita, they're small, at about $12.5 million, $1 billion rather. And then there's a company called Fresenius. They're about a $20+ billion company. So does that tell you that kidney disease will always be here because it's something that makes people money? Am I making sense? So our industry is made to make people money, not care for the health of people. So that means you do have to take care of yourself. Now, there are about 700,000 people in the United States on dialysis. There are about 30 million people that have chronic kidney disease. So that is also a growth industry. Of those people, even though the United States has mostly Caucasian people, with blacks making up 13% of the population, of those 600,000 people, 700,000 people on dialysis, 13% are African American. So about 40% of everybody on dialysis is black. Now, there are probably less than, and Anthony, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I doubt if there are 100 black nephrologists in the country. Am I right or wrong? You're right. Okay. So that means that it's hard to get care that's culturally competent. And we need to fix that, so the more we know, the better off it is. Now, I can tell you about those who have chronic kidney failure, which is not end stage. You're more likely to die from that than to go on dialysis, because people that have kidney failure don't necessarily die from the kidney failure. They die from the risk factors of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and other things that happen long before you get kidney failure. So end-stage renal disease is the 5th stage of the stages of chronic kidney disease. And at that, the only treatment are if you get on hemodialysis, there's peritoneal dialysis, and then there's kidney transplant. I had a call from one of my classmates last night who unfortunately is on dialysis. He had unrelented hypertension. And he said the excuse was that his blood pressure cuff they used at home didn't read the right pressure. So we've got to look at that. But he is now on dialysis. And the treatment for that is there's hemodialysis, which is 3 times a week treatment, 156 treatments per year, or there's peritoneal dialysis, which is better. If I had to go on dialysis, it would be peritoneal dialysis. But the best treatment of all is transplant. There are two types of transplant. There are living-related donors and cadavers. There are a lot of cadavers in LA, especially in South Central, but get a living-related donor if you can. But from a social standpoint, I believe that you should get a kidney from sister, brother, mother, father, but not from your children. So there are genetic factors. There are two big factors, APLO1 and APLO2. And these happen to be genetic variants that happen in people of West African descent. And most of us are that. And that makes you more susceptible to kidney disease, whether it be from HIV, from drugs, from substance abuse, and even NSAIDs will be more likely to cause you that type of problem. There's a major impact, and kidneys are our Achilles heel, so to speak. So estimated glomerular filtration. We send people to Quest or Pacific Labs, and they come back with an EGFR, estimated glomerular filtration. It's a complicated mathematical equation to give you that. And always they would see if you're African American, they would give you a number, or if you're not African American, they give you a number. So a medical student some years ago raised a question, and they've been debating that. And one of the people who unraveled that was Dr. Keith Norris, who's a full professor at UCLA College of Medicine. And we know that that thing with the racial accommodation was underestimating the renal function of blacks. That can affect you in your insurance, your rates, et cetera. So that has been removed, and they have new formulas now that don't do that underestimation. So it's very important to get appropriately tested by your nephrologist or internal medicine. But there are benefits of certain medications and some diet things that may slow. Now, we have a number of medications that can stop renal failure. I'm sure somebody else is going to do that. But the basis of treatment for most African Americans and people with chronic kidney disease is to, one, control that blood pressure. It should be less than 120/80 if you can do it. Some people say that for people of the age of above 60 or 80, you may need to let the pressure be 130, but evidence shows that the lower you can get that pressure and still walk across the room, you're better off and the survival is better. So there are some foods that might also help. I'm glad to see the demonstration that she had today. Eating fresh vegetables and things that have L-arginine in it, antioxidants, et cetera, will make your blood vessels more compliant and therefore lower your blood pressure. And that is very important. Interestingly enough, if you eat fish, particularly fatty fish, such as herring, salmon, sardines, et cetera, they have omega-3 acids in it, and that can make your blood vessels more pliant, and that can also cause a slowing of renal failure. So those are things that we need to know and do. So we do know that kidney disease in blacks is worse, it happens earlier, and they have more complications. Now, as a nephrologist, I know that the average length of life of a patient on dialysis is approximately 8 years. 8 years. But if you have chronic kidney disease, your survival is no better. Most people die before they get to end-stage renal disease. Thank you so much for everything.
As we wait for our next speaker, I know you heard what Dr. Maxey said about the GFR. You have to be your own healthcare advocate. You can be assured that there are going to be some providers that are still doing it the old way. And you have to say, I want it done the new way. I know there's not a difference because of the fact that I'm black. And once again, when they determine that, how black are we? What percentage black do you have to have a different test? They don't have that information. So we should be treated the same way as people who are lighter than we are. So make sure you're your own health care advocate. You have to ask for what you need because they're not going to give it to you. Our next speaker, Dr. Richard Allen Williams.
Good morning. Can you hear me well? Very good. First of all, let me apologize for wearing these sunglasses. Not trying to be cool, but they're lights, very bright lights coming at us, and I have a lot of photosensitivity, so I have to wear these glasses. Second thing that I want to mention is that I'm happy to be here and happy to have been invited by the Mighty Lynx and have a long history with the Lynx. In fact, I have received a very distinguished award in the past from the Lynx for my accomplishments and activities in the past. And so I'm proud of that. And the third thing is that I'm a member of this church at which this event is being held. Fame is my church. And I'm proud and happy to be here. I'm actually named after the founder of the AME Church, Bishop Richard Allen. So that's why my name is Richard Allen Williams. So with all that being said, I think that I fit in for being here today. And also want to mention that I'm here to help you to reach your next birthdays. My next birthday is tomorrow, and I'm happy to contribute to anything that will help you and all of us reach our next birthdays. So with all that being said, let me say that I'm also happy to be here with such distinguished fellow panel members, including Dr. Anthony and Dr. Maxey and Dr. Anitha Mitchell, who has in the past been one of my doctors. So happy about that. So I've been tasked with the with presenting to you something about hypertension or high blood pressure, which I've done a little bit of research on and writing about. My most recent writing on that subject is in this book, which I published, called Blacks in Medicine, and it has a section in it that deals with hypertension, particularly in black people. So Dr. Maxey's already introduced you to the fact that high blood pressure is one of the principal causes of kidney disease and an aggravating factor as well. In fact, it's the second leading cause of kidney disease, or CKD, and especially in blacks, diabetes being the leading cause. And as he indicated, many of us have both hypertension and diabetes, so it's a real double whammy when you have that, and ensures that an individual is going to have a rocky course in dealing with CKD. So hypertension is something that, as far as we know, has always been with us, and particularly affects the black population to a great extent. It's estimated that approximately 51% of the American population has high blood pressure. Over half of our population of 330 million people have high blood pressure. The figures, that is the normal levels for blood pressure, have been revised in the last few years. In fact, in 2017, there was a new guidance which came out from the American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association, redefining what is normal or abnormal for blood pressure. And to make a long story short, you need to keep in mind certain figures as far as your blood pressure is concerned. So 130 over 80 is now recognized as a normal level. Anything above that level is considered hypertension. And so 130 is the new high level. It was 140 before. A change is significant, that is from 140 to 130, because that increased the percentage of people with hypertension upward from 32% up to 46%. And that is especially important for black people. That means that many more blacks are now recognized at being at risk for blood pressure and all of its high blood pressure and all of its ravages. So please keep that in mind when you go to the doctor, or even if you don't, when you measure your own blood pressure and you see a figure of 130 or more, consider that you are at risk from high blood pressure and all of its ravages. It doesn't mean that you need to have a blood pressure of 160 or 180 in order to be considered in danger. You can be in danger at much lower levels. So, as far as we are concerned, that is, we black folks, we are at particular risk for high blood pressure and all of its ravages. We have the worst statistics in the world, except for the people in northern Japan. The Akita population of northern Japan actually has worse outcomes and statistics from high blood pressure than blacks in the United States. But other than that, we have the worst. And we have to deal with that and recognize what that means. One of the worst outcomes from having high blood pressure is chronic kidney disease. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So why is high blood pressure bad? And why does it lead to chronic kidney disease? It would take all day for me to describe that to you. Suffice it to say that the elevation of blood pressure has an untoward effect, a bad effect on the kidneys for various reasons. I think that maybe Dr. Anthony or other nephrologists on our panel will describe more about that. And it also means that we have particular peculiarities in regards to how high blood pressure treats us, so to speak. It causes problems at an earlier age in black people, worse outcomes, and with all that being said, we find that black people have the worst statistics in regards to compliance, that is, taking medication. Dr. Keith Ferdinand, my good friend in New Orleans, did a study which established that something like 51% of the prescriptions that are written for high blood pressure medications in black people are discarded. People don't take their medicines. Obviously, if you don't take your medicine for the disease that you're being treated for, you're at increased risk from the ravages of that disease. So compliance is something that we definitely need to work more on because that means that people are at even greater risk of developing chronic kidney disease. I'm going to stop here and hopefully we'll be able to cover more in regards to the effects of blood pressure on the kidney. But before I do, I just want to make one other statement. I can go way back in recent medical history, so to speak, in regards to how we have been treated, we black people, regarding kidney disease. And I recall that when I was in my residency at USC many years ago, we used to see many patients coming in, especially black patients, who had high blood pressure, and as a result of their uncontrolled blood pressure, they had developed severe kidney disease and were in what Dr. Maxey mentioned, ESRD, end-stage renal disease. Many of those patients we would consider today to be candidates for dialysis, and they were at that time as well. But they didn't get dialysis. They didn't get dialyzed. There was no question a racist policy which was asserted against black people who had kidney disease. And it's interesting how that was all carried out. If you were black and you had kidney disease and needed dialysis, which was really just coming into vogue at that time, you were subjected to an investigation by not only medical personnel, but social workers. Social workers were there to determine whether or not you were, I guess you might say, eligible, or whether you merited to dialysis based on your social worth. In other words, were you an alcoholic? Were you on drugs, a drug addict? Even things like whether or not you had a support system in your family, whether you were you came from a single a family that did not have the dual parents and parentage, et cetera, and things of that sort. So those were some of the criteria that were used to exclude black patients from dialysis and subsequently from kidney transplantation when that came into vogue. And Dr. Maxey, I'll finish with this by reminding you and letting others know that the gentleman who was responsible for essentially inventing kidney transplantation was a black surgeon who at first was at the University of San Francisco, UCSF, and subsequently was at an institution that both you and I attended, and that was the State University of New York at Brooklyn. And he's pictured in my book as Dr. Samuel Kuntz. You should all remember him because he was the man, the black surgeon, who was responsible for developing the first kidney transplantation. So I'll finish with that, and as I said, I'll answer any questions that you might have that pertain to my particular presentation. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Williams. And our next speaker is Dr. Mitchell.
All right, maybe I'll try to hold this mic. Is it?
Blow into it.
It's not. Thank you. I am delighted to be here today. With all the other distinguished panelists that are here, and I have to, before I get into the diabetes issue, before I get into the diabetes issue, Richard, when you bring up the social issues about dialysis, I can remember as a resident at UCLA, I had a particular patient, a black guy who was a candidate for dialysis, and they were screening him and had decided he was not eligible because he hadn't been paying child support. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. And the reason he wasn't paying child support was because he was not working. He had been put on a medication that had such side effects that he wasn't able to. But that brought back memories of those days when those kinds of things went on. Part of the solution to that problem is increasing the number of African American physicians who are taking care of, and that's something that we're trying to focus on in medical schools and that sort of thing. I mean, they've even found that pregnant women do better when they're taken care of by people who look like them. So that's just an aside. And if you were to substitute diabetes and kidney disease to every sentence that Richard made with hypertension, then it would really all apply. Diabetes is probably the single worst factor in the initiation and perpetuation of chronic kidney disease. Just a matter of statistics of the entire U.S. population, about 12% of the population has diabetes. And of that 12%, we represent a bigger portion of diabetics in this country. Diabetes being a condition where there is either a decreased production of insulin or a decreased sensitivity to insulin in our bodies. And there's no question but that lifestyle modification can affect diabetes 100%. Our diet, I was so glad to see our lady today talking about juicing and that sort of thing. Just as an old adage, you know, they say we dig our graves with our forks. Basically, just modification of what we're eating, increasing the amount of exercise. It is amazing that lifestyle modification can affect your blood sugar, your diabetes, taking a walk every day, exercising, watching what we're eating, watching the carbohydrates, decreasing that. Just simple. My mother is 101 years old. And growing up, everything she ate came from her backyard, basically, which means that she was eating fresh fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing. And I think that probably accounts for her longevity. She still eats very healthy foods. And we grew up eating healthy foods, although once I got out of the house, I started eating a little bit differently. But there's no question that lifestyle modification can affect your diabetes, can affect your high blood pressure. And as I say, much of what Richard said about hypertension and kidney disease would apply to diabetes and kidney disease. We're looking at a higher percentage in our population, higher than any other than the Native American population in this country, probably has a higher incidence of diabetes than we. But we are very close second on that list in African Americans. We have to think about our children. We have to think about how we're modeling what we're doing, because they're watching and doing exactly what we're doing. So with that, I will stop, and later on we'll have questions. But basically, diabetes is really the #1 factor in chronic kidney disease, with hypertension being second, and they kind of somehow go hand in hand. And I'll answer some questions later.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mitchell. Just to share a personal story with you, my mother was 75, and she attended a program like this that myself and Dr. Sylvia gave a presentation on heart disease, and we told her what the symptoms were. About a week later, she called me. She goes, you know, I'm having those symptoms you were talking about. I said, are you okay? She goes, I'm at Kaiser already. She had driven herself to Kaiser. So when I got to Kaiser, she needed a triple bypass surgery. But they said they weren't going to give it to her because she was overweight, she had diabetes and hypertension. And I said to them, please give me the name of your attorney. She had the triple bypass surgery and lived for 15 more years. So it's really important, I say again, that we're our own healthcare advocate, because they don't care about us sometimes. And showing how much we care, we have Watts Healthcare Foundation over there. They're here to do your blood pressure check. But in addition to that, they're going to do a blood prick from your finger, and this is going to tell you whether or not you have diabetes. It's not a glucose test. It's called glycohemoglobin, it's A1C. And they can let you know immediately what range you're in, pre-diabetic, completely clear, or diabetic. So please take some time and go over and get your screening done. So our next presenter, the youngest nephrologist around, Dr. Anthony.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. First off, I'd like to thank the Links for having me here to talk about this most important issue. As an aside, I wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon, and my family had renal disease, and so I made a pivot when I was in my internship and decided that I needed to be a nephrologist. I love the physiology and stuff anyway, so I decided to do that. And then again, when I walked in the building, the first thing you see when you come through those doors is Richard Allen over there in the corner. I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi at Pearl Street AME Church, and I got a shudder when I walked in because I know how we had to behave in church. But anyhow, so one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is the early intervention and treatment. So the first thing I will say is that everyone has to know what their numbers are. We've been spitting numbers at you since the outstart of the presentations here. Everyone should know what those numbers are. They're very important. So if you write them down and understand when you go into your doctor's office, you can compare what we've told you here to what you're seeing in your blood pressure check, in your AccuCheck meaning blood sugar check, and your kidney numbers. Because early on in kidney disease, you don't feel a thing. You don't know what's happening. Sometimes people urinate a little bit more. Sometimes people get a little bit swollen. But early on in kidney disease, you don't feel anything. You may feel a little tired, but usually those things come later on in the progress of kidney disease. And as Dr. Maxey said, people die before they get to end-stage kidney disease. So the people who actually make it to dialysis are lucky, because more people die in stage 3 kidney disease than die later on, that die in any part of kidney disease. So that's really what I want to talk to you about this morning, is that because you don't feel anything, you really need to know what those numbers are, and you need to know what they mean. So blood pressure is one thing, blood sugar is another thing, but we really talk about the number creatinine or GFR. Let's stick with GFR. That's function. That's just a fancy acronym for kidney function, okay? And people always want to break it down into percentage, this, that, and the other, but really you need to know the number, the raw number, okay? So when your GFR drops, okay, 90 is normal, 90 and above usually is considered normal, right? So when that number drops, consistently drops, that's the meaning of chronic kidney disease. So from 60 to 89, again, consistently, and let me explain what that means really quickly. That means that your doctor or a nephrologist has measured your kidney function, the GFR, the function rate, 3 or 4 times over a 3-month span, and it remains roughly stable. The reason that's important, and it's really important to me, is I have people coming to my office all the time with one number. And they say, oh, doctor, my doctor says I have chronic kidney disease. I'm like, okay, where are the other numbers at? You know, where are they? I need to see a consistency in someone's chronic kidney disease. So you get pigeonholed into that chronic kidney disease without understanding that acute kidney injury can be reversed. So you walk around stressed out, blood pressure going up, so the kidney failure gets worse because you're stressed out and the blood pressure going up, and it's one number, okay? So you have to keep a trend of your numbers. And Dr. Maxey used to teach me that people need to keep a catalog of what they have and what their family members have. We're very bad with that, you know, so we need to start cataloging our own numbers, all right? The next stage of kidney disease is stage 3. So 60 to 89 was 2. Stage 3 is 30 to 59. Stage 4 is 15 to 29. Stage 5 is less than 15, okay? And again, in those early stages, you're not gonna feel anything. So what should you do, all right? The blueberries was my biggest thing. I love blueberries, number one. And in studying kidney tissue under a microscope, anything with antioxidants in it stopped the scarring of the kidney, all right? So whatever that was, whether it be from medicines that we prescribe or natural foodstuffs, L-arginine, Dr. Maxey mentioned, is one of the biggest things I tell my patients about, because L-arginine is a great antioxidant right at kidney tissue level, and it stops one chemical called TGF-beta from actually scarring the kidney. And these TGF-beta gets liberated when your diabetes is out of control, when your blood pressure is out of control. You know, and there are other kidney diseases as well that we are predisposed to based on that ApoL1 that Dr. Maxey talked about earlier. One of them, you guys know what malaria is, huh? Okay, so sickle cell trait is kind of a protection against getting malaria, right? So African sleeping sickness, there is a genetic change in us that protects us from African sleeping sickness, but also increases the possibility that you might get a kidney disease called FSGS, right? Which means we are predisposed based on this ApoL1, ApoL2 that Dr. Maxey talked about, but diabetes and high blood pressure are the number 1 and 2 causes that are absolutely preventable for us progressing in our kidney function, progressing lower. So you don't feel anything, you gotta know your numbers, antioxidants, okay? So you can look up what foods have antioxidants. I love blueberries again, so I like blueberries. I just take a handful of blueberries and eat them every other day or so, all right? But the cruciferous vegetables, fibrous carbs like celery and broccoli and the kale that the young lady was talking about, loaded with them. Loaded with them. And so all of those things actually help the blood vessels all over the body and actually help slow down the progression of kidney disease based on TGF-beta being slowed down for scarring the kidney, okay? So diet and exercise, you can't get away from it. You know, I tell people not to focus on weight. Don't focus on weight. When you start exercising, don't focus on weight. Focus on activity. Because there's brown fat and there's yellow fat. Brown fat surrounds all of the organs in the center of your body. You start exercising, that brown fat starts to go away first. But you're so worried about the yellow fat that you forget you're getting healthy just by walking. So you give up. Don't do that. Because you're causing yourself a serious disservice longer term just walking. You don't have to be a meathead in the gym, okay? You have to walk. That helps with the overall metabolism, because brown fat is the most metabolically active fat in the body. There are several different types of fat, but that's the most metabolically active fat. And if you just walk and exercise and eat these antioxidants, you will be preventing kidney disease. All right? You will be slowing the rate of progression of your hypertension. You'll be slowing the rate of progression of your diabetes. Treatment, we can get to treatment paradigms in a little while, but it really depends on the individual patient. I have a master's of public health before I became a doctor. So I look at the world from what population does this person fit in. But then the medical literature that these folks wrote before me, that I read a lot of, actually tells me, no, I need to see this population, but does this treatment paradigm fit with who's in front of me? And a lot of times, if the folks don't look like you that's treating you, they'll just give you some medicine without considering the social aspects, the cultural aspects, and individually what may be happening with you. They rush you through the doctor's office so fast you don't know what hit you. Oh yeah, my doctor gave me some medicine, all right? If your doctor does not answer your questions, leave him or her. Leave him alone. You know, we are very respectful people in general, but love thy neighbor, we always forget the as thyself. Okay, so we can talk treatment a little bit more in the question and answer session. I want to keep things moving along. That's just my little piece for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anthony. So we want to give you the opportunity to hear exactly what happens when you have kidney disease. So we have Mrs. Ajuri, who's going to talk to you about from her diagnosis to dialysis to the transplant. And I entitled her presentation, Walking the Walk.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very happy to be here to talk to you. Unlike all the other people who spoke to you, I am not a doctor. I am an engineer by trade, and I am a proud mother of two, married with two kids, or two adult children, really. And I think of myself as a PKD warrior. And I'm happy to talk to you today because after my journey, I guess, with polycystic kidney disease, and also reading up on the statistics of Black Americans and that we're 5 times less likely to be offered a transplant, it encouraged me more to want to share and spread the word about kidney disease and really transplantation. So I will. I also joined the Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation as a peer ambassador, trying to get word out, especially to communities of color. So I'm very happy to speak to you today. So I had kidney disease not as a result of high blood pressure or diabetes, but from polycystic kidney disease, which is a genetic disease that affects people of all colors equally. It's a genetic disease that where your kidneys grow cysts uncontrollably, and then eventually it leads to kidney failure. So at the end of the day, you will end up with the same outcome, I guess, as the results of, say, diabetes or high blood pressure. So my mother had polycystic kidney disease, which she got from her father, and as well as 3 of her brothers, but she had 2 siblings that did not, that were lucky and did not get polycystic kidney disease. So if you have a parent that has PKD, you have 50% chance of getting the disease. So I have 3 brothers from my mother, 3 children. My mother had 3 children, and 2 of us have polycystic kidney disease, and one does not. So, and I have 2 children, and both have cysts, but they're okay as of now. So, so essentially, polycystic kidney disease eventually tends to show up in your 40s or 50s. So, when I realized that my mother passed away from the effects of kidney disease, but I did not know growing up that she had PKD. So fast forward into my 20s, I found out that she did have that, and so I got under the care of a nice Black physician, Dr. Freeman. She was my nephrologist for, I think, over 30 years maybe. And so I credit her for, for a lot of things that happened, as I progressed. So I'll tell you a little bit about that. So Found out in my 20s I have PKD, or the potential, and there's no cure. All you can do is try to slow the progression down. So, I had 2 kids, I was busy, raising kids, didn't really have much time, there's no cure. I mean, like, what can you do? So I kept on moving. In one of my routine medical appointments with her, because I would just go regularly. Whatever else I did, I did always go to see her whenever, at the appointments that she gave me. So I fast forward to my 30s, I had high blood pressure. So I started getting treated for that. Still busy, and then I fast forward to my 40s. I said, perhaps I should do something about this. There's no cure, okay. So I decided to make a change, start living a much healthier lifestyle. I started exercising. I started with literally walking, then I was running. I ran a couple of marathons. I was spinning. And I basically said, I have this invisible disease, and the only thing I can do, I mean, literally, is just try to make myself as healthy as possible in anticipation of what was to come. There's no way to tell whether I was going to progress slowly or quickly or not at all. Some people have PKD, and they're just lucky, and it never goes beyond that. So I fast forward into my 50s, so now I'm like, okay, I'm on slightly borrowed time here because my mom passed away at 39. She lived in Nigeria, and dialysis was not an option. So while we do not like dialysis, it is a lifesaver. So anyway, in my 50s, my kidney functions started to decline. As soon as my GFR got to 20, my nephrologist says, okay, it's time for us to get you listed. So I started the process of getting on the transplant list. Still not knowing how long till complete, I guess, failure. So I got on the list 6 months later, and so about another 6 months or so later, the kidney functions was, at this point, it seemed like it just decided to take a nosedive, literally. So she says, it's time for you to get ready for dialysis. And so I got an access put in my arm in preparation for dialysis. And earlier than that, she had talked to me also about, you might want to start looking for a living donor. But I wasn't ready mentally for that, even though I knew it was coming. So after I got listed, I mean, it became real, right? So I shared the news with my larger family, and then my kids and nieces, they all kind of got together and started to put the word out to look for a donor. So about, maybe another 6 months thereafter, I started dialysis. And so about 4 months into dialysis, my sister, I have a half-sister, and she tested, and she got, she was a match. And so I had hope that I would get a transplant. So because polycystic kidney disease, however, causes your kidneys to enlarge, my kidneys were quite large, and there really wasn't any space to put a new kidney in. So I ended up having to get a double nephrectomy. So they took my native kidneys out, and so a few months later, it was time for my transplant. So by this time I was 4 months on dialysis, and I was like, oh wow, I'm quite lucky. I'm blessed really to have this opportunity. So as it turns out, while I had my nephrectomy, I did have a blood transfusion. And so fast forward, when I was getting ready for my operation, they found out that I had developed antibodies, and now I was no longer a match for my sister. So so my options were either to get a new donor or enter into what is called a paired kidney exchange. So that's what we did. So after a round of treatment to kind of calm down some of the antibodies, I got lucky in January of 2020. I had with a group of 8 people, I guess, swapping kidneys. I got my transplant. So 3 years post-transplant. Thank you. So if I were to give you any advice, I would say that, early intervention, getting in the care of a caring physician certainly increased my outcomes positively. Diet, getting a healthy diet, exercise. These are all things because I was healthier and the only thing I had was this one thing, I was a good candidate for transplantation. And essentially just being healthy allowed, because kidney disease kind of takes a toll on your body, and so just being healthy just allowed me to be able to, kind of go through that journey. And so I would say through it all, I would say do what you love. Don't let the disease define you. The one thing I loved was travel, and even when I was in dialysis, I figured out how to travel. There's dialysis centers everywhere in the world. I traveled in the U.S., out of the country, so you can do it. It doesn't define you. You can just, all I say is just keep moving until literally you can't move anymore. So.
Thank you very much. And please give another round of applause for all of our speakers. So we're now entering into our question and answer. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and Link Laurel will come around with the microphone. But I also want to have the president of Charles R. Drew Medical Society to come up. Can you raise your hand? Come on up. She's going to answer some questions also. Right there's great. Link Laurel, we have a question. Dr. Williams?
Okay. This is about Ms. Ojuri's presentation, which is fantastic. I'd first like to ask her where she got her transplant done.
At Cedars.
At Cedars, okay. Second thing is, I wondered if anybody indicated to you, since you had polycystic renal disease, that there may be some genetic relationship to cerebral aneurysms. And if they had informed you that you and your first-degree relatives needed to be checked out for that possibility as well.
I did mention it, but
microphone, please.
Sorry. Yes, I did get scanned for berry aneurysms by I forget her name. She's also a black lady physician, Dr. Arger. Yes, yes. So yes, I did. And
so they told you about the cerebral aneurysm possibility?
Yes, and so I did get, I guess, multiple, MRIs. It was, over the time, and I didn't have any of that. But
thank you again. This is Dr. Cutler, by the way. I didn't introduce you. Cutter, okay. So the questions?
Yes, this is for Ms. Ojuri. If you would mind sharing your nephrologist, you said the name was Dr. Freeman. Is that African American?
Yes, but she retired.
Oh, she's retired. Okay, very good. Thank you.
But we have the youngest nephrologist right here if you need one.
I'm here.
Yeah, this is to Dr. Anthony. Would you just take 60 seconds and for the benefit of those that hear, explain exactly how a kidney works?
Sure. Sure. So, first of all, the kidney does a myriad of things. People think it just cleans toxins and that's it. A kidney is a filter. I like to tell people it's a big ball of blood vessels, specialized blood vessels that actually have these little filtration units in them. So you have about 1 million of these things in each kidney, right? They're called nephrons or glomerular corpuscles come from that. But what happens is blood flows through that kidney, and then the kidney does a myriad of things to actually filter. There's that's the glomerular corpuscle I'm talking about, filters, and then it produces urine. But the kidney is also responsible for balancing every single blood mineral you have in your body. So if there's a bone issue or osteoporosis, osteopenia, the kidney is responsible for balancing calcium and phosphorus and those kinds of things. If there's acid in the bloodstream, all of our bloodstream should be around 7.4. That's what we learn in medical school. But that's another subject I will get into later. So it should be about 7.4. The kidney is responsible for making sure that that balance stays there. So when you eat something, the body metabolizes it, and then it creates more base, or base is like Clorox, or I'm not going to use Trump's thing. There's a base, and then there's acid, and the kidney actually balances that. Your lungs, okay? So if your lungs are, if you have COPD, for instance, the lung actually is responsible for acid base as well. So the kidney has the ability to control what the lung is doing. The kidney also helps to produce blood cells in your body. It sends signals to the bones to help the bones produce blood cells. The kidney does so many different things. And last but not least, it's the kidney that's responsible for long-term control of blood pressure, right? So there's a little organ in the kidney that actually does that. So this kidney health thing that we're talking about is really about your entire body. I call the kidney the second brain, because anything that happens in the body, the kidney is going to feel it some kind of way, right? It's going to feel it, and it's going to adjust it. It's going to adjust what it's doing to do just that. But really, it's more than just a filter, and I'm glad you brought that question up, Dr. Brooks.
So, Dr. Anthony, would you say the main job of the kidney is to filter blood?
The main job, yes, I would say that.
And would you say that the kidney uses what to control blood pressure?
Salt, okay? There's an organ that controls how much salt and potassium actually flow through the system to modulate what blood vessels are doing.
So if we had the choice to say that the kidneys use blank to control blood pressure, would it be urine levels, calcium and phosphorus, hormones and fluid levels, or pH?
Repeat the question.
Okay.
I was talking in class.
I apologize. My students, really, I drive them nuts. So would you say the kidneys use which one of these to control blood pressure? Urine levels, calcium and phosphorus, hormones and fluid levels, or the pH levels? Which would you say?
Ooh, all of the above, man.
You would say all of the above. Well, we don't have that choice. So which one would you say the which would you say the major is?
I would choose filter.
Filter. Okay.
Gene, excuse me.
Okay.
I just wanted to interject something here at this point. We've got a number of nephrologists, kidney specialists here, and I always consider kidney specialists as frustrated cardiologists. People, and so the points that you're making about the importance of the kidney makes you think that the kidney is really the heart of the matter, which it really is not.
Well, I gotta come
Good
back.
pun.
I gotta
Very
come
good
back.
pun,
I gotta
Dr.
come
Williams.
back. I gotta come back.
Make
I
sure
gotta-
you
the
realize.
smartest cardiologist created the specialty of renal disease. Yeah, I got that from you.
Thank you. Next question.
I have a question in the back here. This is for Dr. Allen. I noticed when you were speaking, you were talking about who is the best match for a kidney transplant, and I'm just curious as to why you say a daughter or son is not the best match. Because in '06, my mother had a kidney transplant, and my cousin gave it to her, and I was the second best match. So I'm just curious as to why you say that, a daughter or son should not be a kidney donor.
The reason I said that, if a son or daughter gives a kidney, they more than likely have the same risk factors that the parent had. So I recommend that mother, father, aunt, uncle give the kidney, but not necessarily the child give a kidney, even though you may match. Now, I can't speak to the total social circumstance. You may want to do that, but you don't want to, I don't like kids giving kidneys to parents for that reason.
And what are the risk factors?
The risk factors are, if you're diabetic, that kidney can become diabetic if you have diseases of the collagen vascular system that can be transmitted. But generally, a live-related donor kidney can be gotten. They have networks now. In fact, instead of just the UNOS network, there are several networks now that can get kidneys from. And you can even, if there's not a family match, somebody else can match and you can trade kidneys. So I just advise a child should not give a parent kidneys.
Thank you.
I had a question. For the GFR, could you just explain again what several things that it really measures? We heard a lot about this earlier, but what it exactly measures?
Oh,
3
okay.
or 4 points.
It actually measures the filtration rate of toxins going through the little filter that I was talking about. So that's basically what it measures, and we use different things to measure that. We use creatinine primarily, but it's an imperfect thing to use, but that's the best tool that we have right now. There's something else called inulin that we use in the lab that gets cleared. It's a much more robust way of measuring glomerular filtration, but that's what GFR is. It's the filtration rate of how fast toxins come out of the bloodstream into the urine.
Can I have a question? So as physicians, we always talk about how to treat chronic illnesses, right? And so you will hear us commonly say diet and exercise is important, right? And we're saying it again. Diet and exercise is important to prevent or to control chronic illnesses. So I know, Dr. Anthony, you talked about antioxidants and blueberries. Maybe somebody can talk about how much exercise are we supposed to do? As we've heard, different things over the years, how many minutes per day, how many minutes per week, what exercises, should we all be doing like Ms. Ojuri mentioned, spinning? What is exercise, and what exercise should we be doing? Dr. Carter, I don't know Dr. Carter,
I'll take a crack at that.
Dr.
if
Cutter,
you'd like.
I'm sorry, Dr.
Oh,
Thank you, thank you. Hi, I'm Dr. Cutter. I'm a surgical oncologist, and I'm the president of the Charles R. Drew Medical Society. We are the Los Angeles chapter of the National Medical Association, the oldest African-American medical association. I want to tell you one thing really quickly, is that we have 2 former presidents of the National Medical Association, Dr. Maxey and also Dr. Richard Allen Williams. I want you to give them a hand for that because, you know, this is a huge thing that we have these two presidents in this room at this time, and you just don't understand the contributions that they've made to medicine and to Los Angeles and really the globe and the things that they've done. So I wanted to recognize them for that. And also, we have, he's younger. You see, I'm not thinking about it. Dr. Brooks as well. He's recently, he was president really just a few years ago. So just really impressive that we have all of these presidents here. So just to answer the question, my specialty is surgical oncology, general surgery, and also obesity medicine. And I selected obesity medicine because obesity is replacing tobacco as the #1 risk factor for cancer. Think about that. A risk factor for cancer. So it's a big deal. So when we talk about exercise, the recommendation is 150 minutes per week. You can divide that into segments, at least 30 minutes. And it's important not to just do cardio. You want to also do some resistance training and things like that. This is not an injury from resistance training. This is from a fall. But even after that, I still am using my free weights, my resistance bands. I'm still doing my cardio along with that. So you want to have a good combination between cardio and resistance training. So that's the recommendation. Walking is the incredible, incredible success factor. I have all my surgical patients to walk 30 minutes a day for 2 weeks after surgery. Everybody. That's my ongoing prescription. After that, at least 3 times a week, 3 to 5 times a week. Thereafter, lifelong. It will change your life. You will not believe the difference that it'll make in your life. If you can't run, walk, okay?
Thank you so much. And also remember when you're walking, if you're walking 30 minutes a day for 2 years, it's not going to work. So you need to progress the amount of time that you're walking as the time goes on and add resistance because the body gets accustomed to what you're doing and it will no longer work. So I have a question. I'm going to ask you guys this question. The 2 leading causes of chronic kidney disease are what? Outstanding, outstanding. Okay, any other questions? Over here's a question. And I'm going to come to you.
I just wanted to ask, some of the senior citizens have issues and we can't walk, or we can't walk for long periods of time. What is another type of exercise that we can do that's the equivalent to a good walk?
We're going to show you chair exercises in a few minutes. And that will actually work for you if you're not able to walk for long distances for a long period of time. And Pilates. But Pilates will kill you. 30 minutes in Pilates, I need my metered inhaler, okay? In Pilates mat, oh, not the whole, okay, yeah. Yeah, on that machine, it's just very, very difficult. One other question? Raise your hand, please, so I can find you.
Hi, could someone address the pre-screening process and what assurances or what can, okay, and what assurances are there that we're not, or a person's not receiving a kidney that doesn't, that functions well?
For a donor. Dr. Anthony, you want to answer that question?
Can you repeat the question?
She wants to know what's the screening and what assurance do you have as a person who needs a kidney to get a kidney that's going to work adequately?
Okay, so we're talking screening for transplant, not...
Yes.
That's okay. So the screening process for transplant is pretty involved. It involves blood tests. And what Ms. Ojiri was talking about is we measure the possibility that you may reject, and we measure the donor, what kind of antibodies they have, okay? Because there's antibodies that the donor will give to you, and then there's antibodies you have that will be against that donor kidney. So we measure against all of that kind of stuff. But we also look at, has the patient had cancer in X number of years, depending on what cancer it is. Sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 5 years out. We look at the health, overall health of the recipient of the transplant. We do cardiovascular screening. We have to make sure your heart is ready to rock and roll when it's time to do a transplant. So we measure all of these different kinds of things through blood tests, through stress testing for heart stuff, but it's particularly related to those antibody antigen matches or mismatches that are there. And that comes through a lot of blood testing. I've only had one occasion years ago where we actually had to do a biopsy to actually figure these things out. And I think it was just a weird case that we had. But in general, what has to happen is those blood tests have to match up. And we measure certain antibodies to viruses or bacteria that you've had in the past, because they actually impact what happens at the transplant level.
My question is that in my last doctor's appointments, I was told at one point that my kidney function was down or it wasn't where it needed to be. And so I had hip replacement surgery, and I was also using Advil and different things to control the pain. And one of the things that my doctor shared is that you can't use those over-the-counter medications like that. And we don't know that, because I did not know that it was affecting my kidney trying to control the pain from my hip. So I want you to speak on over-the-counter medications and medications that we are giving to deal with our diabetes and our hypertension, but also when do we get to a point where medication is not needed? Does that ever occur?
So can you talk about the impact of anti-inflammatories on the kidney and also on the liver?
Yes, so the NSAIDs are the Advils, the Aleve, the ibuprofen, that kind of thing. And that's what Dr. Maxey said in his presentation, that those are medications that have a particular effect on the kidney that could lead to scarring, leading to increase in this TGF-beta thing that I was talking about, increased scarring of the kidney. This is why it's extremely important that you know your number, because the risk of those things affecting you goes up the lower your kidney function number, or the higher your kidney function number is, okay? So if you're stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that's what I mean higher. But your GFR, if your GFR is going down, those medicines will affect you even more. So it's at that point that you should have a good working relationship with your physician in their office to actually guide you through that. Now, one of the things that we have to know as physicians is that medicines have an effect on the body, but the body has an effect on medicines. It's called pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetics. So we have to know what happens, which is, again, important that you have a physician or a practitioner that actually, gives a damn about you, to be honest. The liver piece of this is like things like Tylenol affect the liver because of certain filtration system, or not filtration system, but certain systems of getting rid of those types of toxins that the liver has. It upregulates some things and downregulates other things. So they can be detrimental. But I always tell my patients this as well. You got to partner with me, whether you use herbal therapy or over-the-counter therapy or my therapy, right? Because all medicines have the potential to be bad or good. I mean, that's just the way God created us, right? It's one or the other. And that's the way we look at things, okay? So those medicines, you need to go back and ask a question to that physician, even if it's over the counter. If you're concerned about it, ask. That's what we're supposed to be here for. Docere in Latin, which is the root of doctor, it means to teach. So that's why I say, if your doctor's not talking to you and you can't communicate with them on a certain level, it's time to bounce. It's time to say bye, thank you very much for your service, but I need somebody who can talk to me because, my health is very important to me. And it's important to us too, because without y'all, we can't have community, right? I hope that answers it. I know I got off on the side a little bit.
There are two questions.
Dr. Maxey,
I'm going to speak a moment just about pain. I work in Inglewood and in South Central. Everybody wants something called narco. And people are so concerned about pain. And I'm sort of angry with the federal government in that they will approve that Medicare will pay for the narco, for the morphine, for all of the opioid things that take care of pain. But they won't pay for the non-opioid treatment for pain, such as, and I mean church, but there's CBD oil, which can be used internally, it can be used externally. There are lidocaine patches. But we take the absence of pain as something that is more important than the absence of heart failure, kidney failure, et cetera. So we have to find ways to treat pain that aren't necessarily paid for by the government. It's a plot. It's a plot. And that's part of the reason so many black people have problems, that we, just like that narco, the Percocet and all those things, and we have to be very careful. I'm not concerned about you being addicted, but I'm very concerned about the other problems that will cause for your body, your life, and your kidneys.
Before we go to the next question, we have a Honda Silver license plate 7ABS193 that's blocking another vehicle, and we need you to move your car. So once again, a Honda, it's silver, gold, I'm sorry, license plate 7ABS193. Please move your car. Thank you very much. Other questions?
He had one back there, and then, okay, I'm going to get. Okay, I'm back.
Good morning. This is a great program, and information is much needed. But I had a question about, what we've just gone through with COVID. Have there been any studies or information about how the kidneys are affected if you've had COVID?
First, the answer to the first part of the question is yes, there have been studies to look at COVID, particularly. Let me just explain that COVID is an inflammatory disease. And a lot of people with COVID who were severely sick got kidney disease. There was one study that actually showed that of 500 people that started dialysis with COVID in the hospital, 50% of them came out on dialysis, right? And also, just anecdotally, a lot of nephrologists are seeing in their offices that people who have had COVID have a much more rapid progression of their chronic kidney disease. So as Dr. Maxey talked about the rates of people going on to dialysis and the rates of chronic kidney disease, those are only going to climb because we have yet to add those patients to those numbers. But yes, COVID-19 absolutely, in my experience and in some of the literature, has affected people's progression of chronic kidney disease.
Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. Maybe I can speak loud enough. So I have a question actually for two of our panelists. I'm going to try to get them both in. One for our, I don't want to say survivor, but the individual who has experienced firsthand kidney problems, as well as one of our physicians on the panel. My first question is about what we call compliance and how important it is, even having been a patient, to make sure that you're following your doctor's instructions regarding the care that you receive, including your medications. So often I get patients coming in that look at the side effect list, which is numerous, and it can kill you, and side effect death and sleepiness and so many other things, those which are potential side effects, and they decide upon themselves to stop taking the treatments that their doctors who are trying to help care for them has prescribed for them. So I have a question about how you feel about how important it is to make sure that you follow the instructions that your providers are giving you, because they're only working in your best interest. And then secondly, for one of the providers, another thing that comes across my office quite commonly as a primary care physician, and one of the doctors alluded to it, is that people will say, I'm not going to, will not, have not taken my medications, including my blood pressure medicines, including my diabetes medicines, because I only take herbs. And I would like one of the doctors to speak to their opinion about how even herbs may have a positive or negative medicinal value.
I will speak to, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Compliance. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. So compliance, I'll say two things about compliance. Compliance was very important to me because, like I said, kidney disease is a long-term thing. So you have plenty of time to do the right thing or the wrong thing. So being in constant care and following the instructions of my physician was important. So like I said, when I started going to see a nephrologist in my 20s, I would go maybe every 6 months. But as things progressed, I had to go more often. And so the other part of why that's important is it's one of the things they look at when you want to get a transplant. Are you following the instructions? Because if you're not going to be compliant, a kidney is a very precious commodity, really, when you think about it, because you can't make it, and it comes from another person, and so many people need it. So why would they give it to you if you're not going to do the things you need to do, like take your medication? Because it's a lifetime commitment to taking your medication every day. I take my medication every 12 hours. I have something I take in the morning and some things I take in the evening every day. I set an alarm. So it's very important. If you're not going to compliant, then you're not a good candidate for a transplant, which is the best possible outcome if you're in kidney failure.
Okay, the other question was in reference to vitamins and herbs, and we're going to have to close out the questions. I do apologize, but you can ask afterwards if you don't mind. Vitamins and herbs can impact your body just as medications can. So whenever you go to see your provider, make sure you have the list of vitamins and herbs that you're taking, because they may be contraindicated with the medication that you're taking. So that's very, very important. But before we go to our post-test, does everyone have their post-test? I just wanted to ask a question of Dr. Anthony. Dr. Anthony, we know that hemodialysis and peritoneal dialysis are a way that you can actually filter the blood, but which one can be done at home?
Both.
Both can be done at home?
Yes, but
Okay.
peritoneal is the one we think about doing at home most often, and that's the undersurface of your belly has blood vessels that function as a slow kidney. So you're connected to a machine. I like to do it overnight while you're sleeping, and it dialyzes you that way. But now we have more and more people going on home hemodialysis therapy. You do dialysis 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, instead of going in center 3 days a week.
And would you say that the kidneys use hormones and fluids to control the blood pressure? Please
Yes.
say yes. Thank you. Okay, okay, let's take our post-test, please. Does everyone have your post-test? Raise your hand if you do not. We need a post-test here, please.
Keep your hands up, and we
Keep
can
your
give it
hands
to
up
you.
for your
Okay, well,
post-test.
you don't have to. I know. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else that needs a post-test? Post-test? You have. Okay. Thank you. Sheila, do you have the test?
Excuse me, Gene. Well, Gene, I wanted to ask a question of the nephrologists here and others. We sometimes see commercials on TV pushing certain medications for control of kidney disease. One of the medications is, Dr. Maxey, can you hear me? Dr. Maxey? Yes. The question is, what do you think about these direct-to-consumer commercials for drugs like K.A.R.E for the treatment of CKD, et cetera?
Even though I don't work for pharmaceutical
Can't hear you.
Even though I don't work for any of those companies, I think it's absolutely good. And even on a program that we do every Sunday called the Black Health Trust, I tell the people that, first of all, when they go to their doctor, if they have diabetes especially, they ought to make sure that that doctor checks their spot urine for albumin levels so we can get an albumin to creatinine ratio. Now, the interesting thing about the medications, one is called Ozempic, which is out of supply because everybody's using it for weight loss. But it is something that will help control your hemoglobin A1C that Dr. Anthony mentioned. That's very important. The other one is one called Farxiga. And Farxiga helps, there's a 37% decrease in the progression of renal disease with that drug. And then there's one called K.A.R.E. And K.A.R.E. also helps get rid of the inflammation that Dr. Anthony talked about because you have to control your blood pressure, you have to control the inflammation in your kidneys, and that's very important to lower that incidence of end-stage renal disease. So I think those commercials have actually done a good job because most black people have not been exposed and don't have the cultural competence in the white doctors that they go to make sure those things are addressed. So I think it's very good, even though it's commercial. It's something that will treat you. Now, just because the medicine fits a particular class, whether it be a semaglutide or what, doesn't mean it has that effect. And what those commercials have done is brought out the 3 pillars that we need to use. Everybody needs to be treated with an ARB, angiotensin receptor blocking agent. Everybody needs to be treated with the MRA, or the mineralocorticoid antagonist, and everybody needs to be treated with a semaglutide like Ozempic. And those help prevent and make renal failure less likely.
Thank you, Dr. Maxey. We have the Vice Director for the Western area, Dr. Karen Cole, and she wants to give you some information about imaging that we talked about previously associated with aneurysms.
Hi. Good afternoon. I just wanted to say that I am a radiologist, and if you don't understand what a radiologist is, they're a special type of doctor that reads imaging. So your chest x-ray is read by a radiologist. Your ultrasound of your abdomen, which includes your kidneys, is read by a radiologist. Your CT scan of your abdomen and pelvis is read by a radiologist. So my area specifically is neuro, so I'm a brain and spine doc. But I did want to tell you that you should know what your kidneys look like. If you have any imaging at all, ask your doctor, what do my kidneys look like? Is there thinning of the cortex? Is there a change in the pattern of how it looks? Because those are all signs of renal disease. Also, you can ask for your imaging. Imaging now is portable. You can ask for your imaging on a CD, and you can take that CD with you, and you can show it to anyone. And it's good to have your imaging with you, just to carry it around. Just like your history, you know, your medical history, you also want to know your imaging history and carry that with you. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, has everyone completed their post-test? If you completed your post-test, please raise them up high so we can collect them. And as we're waiting for you to collect your post-test, we're going to invite Dr. K.A.R.E back up.
Okay, I just wanted, actually, Dr. Anthony to come down the stairs for a quick minute before you feed your face. Definitely, we want to thank all of our panelists, Dr. Maxey, Dr. Williams, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Anthony, and Ms. O'Jury. That was great, right? It's wonderful having all perspectives. And as we mentioned here, we're trying to empower you to, when you go to your doctors, to be able to bring this information. Because sometimes, you know, I'm a primary care doctor. Sometimes you need to stop me in my steps to say, oh, what about my GFR? Because I know all of the information, I just may be running that day and not stop to take the time to tell you about it. So that is important, so you want to do that. But I have a special presentation here for Dr. Anthony. Dr. Anthony is our nephrologist who also came to our middle school, Crozier Middle School in Inglewood. We have a mentoring project there. And so we had a session called The Science and the Art of Kidneys. And so once we told these 25 beautiful girls about the kidneys, they had to draw the kidney system. And Dr. Anthony throws them through there. So we had all of the pictures put together in this poster, and we wanted to give it to him as a thank you. Our certificates. And we have certificates for everyone. Thank you. Thank you all.
So after you finish with your post-test, we're going to give you a 5-minute bathroom break. You guys have been so attentive. Thank you so very much. No one has left this room. So thank you. Give yourself a round of applause. I mean, you've been fabulous. So after the bathroom break, we're going to have our next raffle. Okay, she's going to do one before you go to the restroom. I'm sorry.
Everyone have their tickets ready? We've got some $50 gift certificates now. So I am calling number 2396382. 2396382. Everyone have their tickets out? 2396382. All right, we're going to move on. Okay, our next number is 2396365. No, 85. 2396385. 385. No, let me see the first one. What's that one? No, it's 382. Yeah. All right, so I'll pull another one. So next is 2396360. All right. Come on up. And okay. So we have a $50 gift certificate for you for Ralph's. $50 for Ralph's. Our next ticket, 2396383. 2396383. The last 3 digits, 383. All right, we have another $50 for Ralph's. Next up, we have last 3 digits, 352. All right. So we have $50 Trader Joe's for that winner. Oh, they're getting better. So our next number, last 3 digits, 358. Last 3 digits, 358. We have another Jim. One of our Jims is here. And she is also getting a $50 gift certificate for Ralph's. So we have one more before. We still have some raffles later. As you see, they're getting higher. Last 3 digits, 395. Last 3 digits, 395. And you are getting a $50 gift certificate for Trader Joe's. All right. So we're going to break for lunch. If everyone can enjoy their meal, get your post-test completed so we can pick that up, and then we'll have another raffle after lunch.
And during lunch, please go and get your screening done. please raise your hand if you're finished with your post-test so one of my Link sisters can pick it up from you. Please raise your hand.
Hello, hello. If you've completed, raise your hand, please, and a Link sister will pick it up. I hope everyone has enjoyed or is enjoying their lunch. Before we move on to the next part of the program, can we please give another round of applause to Dr. Jean Davis and our extraordinary panel. Our extraordinary panel. You know, this panel, everyone, our panel really brought all of this full circle because we started our day talking about how kidney disease impacts our community more than others. And what we heard from our distinguished panel were some of the reasons that that's the case. And so now, on the heels of people who fought to make sure that folks could get dialysis regardless of whether or not the broader community thought they were good people, here we all sit now in a better position to take charge of our own health outcomes. And again, very grateful to the healthcare professionals who are taking care of our communities. Thank you again to the panel. Now, everyone, please, it is my distinct honor to welcome to the stage another member of the Beverly Hills West chapter of the Lynx. Dr. Ruth K.A.R.E is a past president of our chapter. She's a retired mental health professional. She's a retired mental health professional, but to be more specific about it, she's a retired mental health administrator and developmental psychologist. She trained at Western Michigan University and at the University of Illinois. She's a noted business owner and an incredible philanthropist who oversees the K.A.R.E Family Foundation. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Ruth K.A.R.E.
Thank you, Tanya, for that fabulous introduction. I'm seeing everyone's finishing your lunch. A special shout out again to K. Michelle's Catering. Didn't they bring us a wonderful lunch? A sidebar, there's someone blocking at lot 3, which is the furthest one over on Harvard. You're getting ready to be towed. Don't know who it is. Is this the gold car?
I think it was silver. It's a gold Honda Civic. It's a 4-door. The license plate again is 7ABS193. If you think you have that car, please. If not, you're going to get towed.
So please, go out and take care of this important matter. We want you to be able to get home. Hasn't this been a great morning? We've had such phenomenal experts all in one place. You know, that's incredible. And we want to thank again all of our expert presenters. We've all learned a lot, and thank you again for joining us. At this point, we're going to move to mental health and exercise. Does someone remember how many hours or how many minutes a week the Physical Exercise Commission nationally? 150, okay, everyone did well on that pre and post test, or the post test. 150 minutes a week. The person that is coming up in just a minute, she's phenomenal. Antonia M. Rout, she is a recipient of many honors and awards, including the 2002 Winter Olympic torchbearer for inspiring others and exceptional service work to the community. She has a degree in psychology from Cal State LA and certifications in healthy lifestyles, group exercise, Pilates, Tai Chi. She's an arthritis instructor, and more. On a more personal note, she's a marathon runner and has completed the marathon in 6 of our 7 continents. and is scheduled to run in Antarctica in the near future. Yes. She is a fitness expert. She's my dear friend. And she's a triathlete as well. And I could go on and on because she's got more medals than anyone else I know for running marathons, half marathons, for her athletic fitness. And I'm honored to bring forward at this time Antonia Rout, who will talk about chair exercises. Someone brought that up. I can't walk all the time. I can't do my run. So she's going to tell us what else we can do. Thank you. I'll turn it over now to Antonia Rout.
Okay, so hello. Welcome, everyone. Before we get started, because once we get started, we're going to be moving, and I'll just be saying this way, that way, up and down. But what I wanted to address is walking is huge. Walking is more beneficial in different, unique ways than running. I've had to walk after surgery. It was torture for me, but it was real work. I asked a friend, you've walked, you've run, you've done 22 marathons. What's harder? She said walking. I agreed. Walking is the simplest thing you can do. You can walk out of your house and go around the block. You can start going to the corner and then go to another corner and go to another corner. Okay, so what I want you to know is we're going to get started. Just if you're sitting directly next to someone, just move your chair over. If you're close to the table, move your chair back. All right? So, ready, set, go. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so here we are. Can everyone see me? Can you see me now? Okay, now we need the microphone on the stand. I think we need it on the stand. Can this comes off? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Who said that? Who said I'll do what I can? Okay, so what's most important with any activity is that you work within your ability. You do what you can. Don't worry about what the person to the right or the left is doing, because everybody's body is different and everybody's body has a different history. So, if anything I suggest doesn't agree with your body, skip it. Okay, so I just need to move this a little bit. Okay, so here we go. First, let's roll our shoulders. Pull them up, pull them back, and go around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, we're going to put our hands out, okay, to the side. Lift your chest, tuck your chin, and bring your hands up. Okay, now reach for the ceiling, but don't pressure your joints. Bring your hands down. Now take them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move at your own pace. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now bring your hands down. Oh, may I mention, please, that Richard is a former marathoner also, okay? He didn't mention that in his bio, okay? Put your hands here, turn them up, sit tall, make a soft fist, and bend your elbows. 1, 2, 3, keep your wrists flat. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, put your knuckles together, pull your shoulders back, tuck your chin, pull your hands apart, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stop, bring your knuckles up. Now move your elbows out, bring them in without attempting to touch, and go out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to start adding our legs. Put one hand here, please, in front, the other elbow's out to the side. When you pull this elbow down, take this one up and bring one knee up and go. 1, 2, 3, Okay, this elbow's back. Pull this hand down, take that one up, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Look this way. 9, 10. Stop. Okay, now put your hands out here. Okay, now you're going to reach forward, bring your fist down, and roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stop. Reverse. 1. Tap your toes. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, put your hands here. Okay? Now you're going to move like this. Now add your knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, put your feet out. Point your toes. Move your feet up and down. And move your hands across your body. Okay, you got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stop. Now, move your feet in and out. Move your hands up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. All right. Put your hands here. So when we exercise our body, we mustn't leave our mind out of the equation. Hands are here. Go this way. Go this way. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep your head still, she said. No, you're going to get dizzy. Here, here, here. Now, put your hand here. Your hand's going to go this way, and this leg's going to come up. Okay, got it? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now go. 1, 2. Wiggle your legs. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Your hand got stuck. 5, 9, and 10. So her legs started moving and her hands got stuck. And they were saying, come on, come on, come on. Okay, so listen. I don't know how much time I've got, but we're going to wrap up with this, okay? All right, so give me a number, gorgeous. Oh, that's too high. 6 is too high. Okay, okay, so ready? We're going to see. You'll know what I decided when we get going. So 5 is a good number. Just confusing enough. Tap your toes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, 1, 2, 3, down. Start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and wow! Did you have fun? I'm sorry, you can't see me. Did you have fun? So, all right. These are the jewels I want to leave with you, and they are very precious. Okay? You do a lot of things for a lot of people and a lot of causes. Do something for yourself. If you take care of someone else, you got to remember, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of them. My husband's in the back, and he told me once, he said, don't say you love anybody if you don't love yourself. Okay? So, it's important that you move. When you move, you lubricate your joints, and they move much better, okay? So, you want to practice doing something for yourself. Make it a habit. Keep it. It's a good one. And start small and go slow. It's like saving pennies. You start with 1, you get to 5, you got a nickel. You save 5, you got a quarter. You save 4, you got $1. And on and on and on. Do a little something, keep it small, take it slow, and don't be competitive with anyone. And don't pressure yourself. Listen to your body. Your body does not lie. Okay? Someone will say, oh, it's a piece of cake. It might not be. Okay? Listen to your body. It doesn't lie. And when it gets loud, it's complaining. Okay? The other thing is also when you are sitting, and you've been sitting a long time today, so you may have crossed your ankle, or you may have crossed your leg. Okay? But as we live longer, our circulation gets a little sluggish. So practice keeping your feet on the floor and keeping your feet under your knees and not behind your knees. Okay? The other thing is if you practice sitting tall, you will stand tall. If you stand tall, you will walk tall, and you will reduce your risk of falls. Did you get that? Reduce your risk of falls. Because when you fall, you are subject to break something. And it won't exactly be the same afterwards. Okay? So everyone say, I will, move. And move forward. And continue to move. And on and on and on. Okay? Put your hands up. Put one up, put one down, wrap it around you, give yourself a hug. Then unwrap, switch the arms, and give yourselves a hug, because you deserve a hug. I just can't hug you all, you know. Okay, now put your hands together. Okay, ready? Wiggle your legs, clap your hands. Great job. Great job. Now you got what you needed today, so put it into practice. Okay? Thank you very much. You're welcome. My pleasure.
Well, thank you again. I think you worked our cardio just nicely. Another round of applause for Antonia Rout. And thank you from our links.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I tell this one story? The Revlon.
Okay, wait. She wants to tell you a story. You know how it is when you up your friend. It's a beautiful story. Oh, it's a beautiful story. And I understand why she likes to tell it. So everyone pay close attention. She's already told you I'm a marathoner. So now she's going to tell you something else.
Okay, so years ago, we were doing the Revlon run. We do the Revlon, the Walk America, the Coleman, and obviously my marathon friend was far beyond me. So we were doing.
So she thought.
So we were doing the run, and I couldn't find Antonia. So I kept seeing people in front of me with gray hair and it looked older, and I kept moving and moving. I said, Antonia, where are you? I kept moving. I had my absolute best time in that 5K run because Antonia actually was in back of me, and I kept searching for her. I never looked back once because I knew she was ahead of me.
So I am saying, humbly and appreciatively, she ran and moved as fast as she could, chasing the rabbit that was not in front, okay? So I do understand that. But I'd like to share with you quickly, this good friend of mine, she and I carried the Olympic torch together. She nominated me, and then she was invited to carry the, she was invited to carry the Olympic torch. And also, she and I not only did Revlon like year after year after year, she was also nominated to be honored as Woman of the Year. So we have a lot of hills, and I don't necessarily suggest hills. I just say get up, get out, get going. Okay?
Okay, thank you again, Antonia. And she was a Woman of the Year for Los Angeles County also. So thank you again. I know everyone has great ideas now for our physical well-being, our physical health, and if you're in a chair, that's okay. That's okay. So at this time, it gives me great pleasure to talk a little bit about our mental health. We've heard a lot. Oh, we have a raffle. So let me turn it over to Lisa Grant, who's going to do a raffle, and then I will introduce our mental health speaker that will provide a lot of great tips.
All right, everyone have their tickets ready? Tickets ready? We're getting higher in price. So, let me give those to you. So, let's look for, so we're looking for the last 3 digits, 337. The last 3 digits, 337. $75 for Ralph's. Yeah. $75 for Ralph's. You got it? Our next number, last 3 digits, 367. Last 3 digits, 367. We have $75 gift certificate for Trader Joe's. 367. Anyone? Okay, I'll pull another one. All right, for Trader Joe's, $75. Last 3 digits, 336. 336. All right. Let's keep it moving. And we have last 3 digits are 351. $75, Trader Joe's. All right, we have 2 more gift certificates for $75. Last 3 digits, 327. Last 3 digits, 327. Is that 327? Huh? All right, we got 327, so we've got 75. You got that one? Yeah. All right, and which number did you have? 336, so you are $75. Here, I'll take that one. You are $75 at Ralph's. Right here. She has it. All right, so we'll have a final raffle. As you've seen, the prizes are going higher and higher, so we have a couple more at the end of the day. So I'm going to turn it over to Ruth K.A.R.E.
Thank you again, Lisa Grant. Some wonderful raffle prizes today, and we thank all of you for joining us. And a lot of you are going home with great ideas and great gifts. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Victoria Moran, who is also a PhD. She's a licensed clinical psychologist, completing her studies at Howard University, Pepperdine University, Stanford, and also earlier on Texas A&M. She is also a licensed minister in the AME Church. She is our mental health liaison in our Beverly Hills West chapter of the Links Incorporated and has a special interest in crisis intervention. Most recently, Vicki appeared on the Reva Martin Show in real time, discussing important mental health crisis issues. Victoria spends some of her me time as a runner and a swimmer, and she also participates in triathlons. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to bring to the podium Dr. Victoria Moran.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? You guys need a stretch break? Want to stand up for just a couple seconds and have a stretch break? You did chair? Okay, we're good. All right, just want to make sure. Okay, so I have a biopsychosocial model that I use for health and wellness. It sounds pretty ambitious to, I'm sorry, if we could just shh. I don't want to have to lose my voice. I still have clients to see this afternoon. I told Mom Ruth is like, where were you? And I'm like, I make most of my money on Saturday. I couldn't be here any earlier. Clients, they work and they want to see their therapist on the weekend, or in the evening. So I use a biopsychosocial model towards wellness, and you can also add spiritual to that. Them having a mind-body bifurcation or separation, it's been proven that it's false. What we do, what we put in our body, how we move our body, how we utilize our body. You probably felt a lot better after your chair exercises than before. If you exercise, then it decreases, particularly aerobic exercise, it decreases your depression, anxiety, and all kind of health indices. So if I can just have a moment, if we could just I don't want to have to yell. Thank you so much. So in terms of biological, many of you, we've been talking about chronic illness. We've been talking about Black people in the community and kidney disease. This impacts us in a higher level in terms of with diabetes. It impacts us. We have a harder time with the waiting list in terms of the kidney transfers. My grandmother was on kidney dialysis for 11 years. They had given her 5 years, and so this is something that's very intimate to me. For reasons I won't go into specifically, I have to watch my sugar. And 2022, I gave up most processed food, and within 6 months of basically taking out most white bread, my motto was, if it's white, it's not right. So instead of white rice, I would do brown rice. Instead of white potatoes, I would do sweet potatoes. And if it was a processed food, I didn't even have cake on my birthday. So from June 20, I know, right? I'll get into that later. I was on the ocean, so if you're sacrificing something, it's really, it feels better to also look at what you're adding. It wasn't totally sacrificial because I lost from size 16 to size 8. And so then thank you. And my cholesterol went down 70 points just by eating. I tried to channel, would my grandmother recognize what this was? Would my grandmother cook this for me? And how would she look at me if I ate this? So my grandmother raised 6 children on basically a single salary, and we were eating organic before it was a thing because she grew her own collard greens, tomatoes. Most of the food that they ate were vegetables. Cabbage she grew, and then was in Minnesota, so she also had a can. So, she couldn't feed 6 children on meat. So meat was something that was very rare or a little bit on the side with a lot of vegetables. And then most of us are African American or West African descent, and we really react well to eating a mainly plant-based diet. So I do eat chicken, I eat fish, but that's how I got my cholesterol down 70 points. At first, I had to tell you I had headaches when it was going out my system, but I never have felt better. I've had, I wake up and I'm excited and I barely need the coffee. So if I can preach more plant-based, I'll preach it all day. So that's part of the biological that interacts. They've had people on high vegetable, high fruit diets, and then they also had a study group that had the regular antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication, and they had a placebo group that had, they weren't getting anything, but they thought they were. And the depression went down the same amount as antidepressant and anti-anxiety. I'm not anti any medication. Sometimes, especially if you have chronic depression, you need that medication. You need to stabilize yourself quickly. However, you can also see some of those same results by eating a mainly plant-based diet. And so I go into the produce department and I give little mini sermons whenever I go into Ralph's, and I tell people everything you need is right here. God gave it to us. And so I try to eat closest to how God gave it to us. And very small percent, that 10% is chocolate chip cookies every now and then or pizza. But if I have that, I'll have a big salad with it. Because if God didn't give us a pizza tree or a chocolate chip cookie tree, I'm not going to eat it for the most part. I'll just have it as a treat. So something else I want to talk about too, there may be a grief cycle if you have a chronic diagnosis. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and there's a grief cycle with accepting that diagnosis. There may be physical changes. I had a bilateral mastectomy, so there's physical changes. There may be scarring. So just as you have a grief cycle when you lose a loved one, if you have a major change in your life, and something that my therapist told me is that you can't have a new life and an old life at the same time. So I grew up in the church, and that resonated with me because Jesus on the cross, Jesus that was in the tomb, Jesus that was with his disciples, and Jesus that ascended, those were 4 different iterations. Jesus that ascended was not on the cross. Jesus that was with his disciples was not on the cross. Jesus that ascended was not on the cross. So someone that had grown up in church, my mom, minister of music, my aunt was a minister of First AME in Kansas City, someone that grew up in the church, and the Bible has so many references of Saul before he was on the road to Jericho, before he became Paul. So when they said you can't have your new life and your old life at the same time, when I saw that my cholesterol was in that red, I was like, okay, I'm about to have a new life that was actually like our old life of the ancestors, is going back and eating how that we're supposed to eat with the plant-based, what God gave us, instead of a lot of the other foods. Thank you. Thanks for the high five. And so epigenetics works with that too. So epigenetics in terms of, the movement, mindfulness, so that could be meditation. When I go swimming, I feel that's very mindful. I always think it's almost like a rebaptism, again, going back to like biblical. And then one thing I want to say about the new life and the old life is that one of the biggest chapters in my life is Exodus, when Moses parted the Red Sea. Well, so first of all, he had this fear before he did it, and we know that the staff was in his hands. And then when the chariots tried to follow him, they were washed out. They drowned. And that, to me, was like the first baptism, was a foreshadow of what's going to happen in the New Testament. So when I think about like my cholesterol going down or whatever it is that's in your life, it's like they can't follow you if you make those changes. If you make those brave changes and the staff is in your hand, Pharaoh's chariots can't follow you. So I want to talk about some of the psychological tools that you can use if you've been diagnosed with a chronic illness. And one of the things I really like is the 4 N's. And the first of the 4 N is saying no. It may be saying no to your current tribe. For me, it was saying no to sugar. It could be saying no to a lifestyle. Shonda Rhimes has a great book, Year of Yes, where she says saying yes to saying no. So saying no can be really powerful, and especially I wanted to talk to my black women in the room. Often we've been looked at as a mule. If you want something done, ask a brown or black woman. We'll get it done. We'll stay up all night. We think we're superwomen. But, it's time for us to declare ourselves precious cargo. Some people in my own family don't like the boundaries. I went to help move my parents, and I wanted to get at my own place. They're like, why won't you stay at home? I was like, because y'all have me working 24/7, so I need to say no, stay in my own place, still help you move most of the time, but we have to set our own boundaries and declare ourselves precious cargo. Something else that's shown to elevate your mood is being in nature. They've had studies where they have people that have windows, and if their room overlooks greenery, that they improve faster. And then they've had pictures, because not everybody can be in a hospital room that overlooks greenery. Even having a picture of something green can make you feel better. So when I was going through my chemo, I went to my parents, and they live in the forest, and that's something that was really helpful. But we can all go to Kenneth Hahn Park. It's free. There's free yoga at Kenneth Hahn tomorrow at 10. There's all kind of things. The Stalker Trail is free, so there's all kind of things. We're right here in the Pacific Ocean, so we're really blessed to be, near really a lot of beautiful scenery that the whole world comes to visit. Another thing that you can do if you're feeling in a low mood is nurture yourself. That can look like a cup of herbal tea. It can look like a long bath. Nurturing yourself could be with loved ones. For me, nurturing myself was at the end of the day of moving my parents. I was going to be doing it 7 days straight, was to have a beautiful room that overlooked the water. So I'm going to work 20 hours straight, and then I'm going to have my time where I have, my own space. And then the last thing is doing something novel. So during quarantine, I had some depression, which was really normal. So my grandmother was in hospice, one of my best friends was in hospice. I'm having my clients are more chronic. And so one thing that really helped me is a group of us hired a lifeguard, and we started swimming in the ocean 2 times a week. It doesn't have to be swimming in the ocean, but something novel, something new can really help you. So Michelle Obama, I had a beautiful chance to see her. She started knitting during quarantine, and that was for her going back to the old, because she said her families were seamstress, and her grandmother made money by always carrying a sewing machine. So for her, it was knitting. It was keeping her hands busy. So if you're feeling depressed or anxious, something new can really help you and lighten your mood. And I also want to give a couple tips about black people and depression. So there's lots of research that shows that our depression manifests itself most commonly as irritability and anger. And if you relate to that, you can raise your hand. If you know in your heart. So I had to tell my husband that. My husband's white and Native American, so he had no black mother to temper, to, you know, kind of break him in, so to speak. So when I'm like, this is my depressed, and I'm yelling at him, and he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, white people, your mom probably was crying and everything, and when you're sad, if you think about it, that person's gonna get more empathy. If I'm full, like, yelling at him, he's scared to come close. So, but that's really important to know. So I always look at, too, like Richard Pryor is one of our comedians. I won't say the N-word, but in Bicentennial, you fill in the blank. At the end, he's crying. He's talking about what the country has done to us for 200 years. So there's a lot of, like, it's like a fire hose that you take off that top. It's not necessarily going to come out in tears. So with us and our community, it's going to come out in irritability and anger. Also, there's a lot of stigma, both in the black community and Asian community, regarding saying they're depressed. Particularly, I'll find in older clients. So I'll say, are you depressed? No. Or I'll say, you have this symptom, you're not eating, you have loss of interest in your common activities, you're having insomnia, you told me you're irritable, like all these things, you know, they'll help me every single, if there's like 9 things that measure depression, they'll hit every one. No, I'm not depressed. And I just say, okay, I'm not gonna argue with the 80-year-old black woman. I'm just gonna say, okay. Because my mom is 82, so I am broken in, unlike my husband. So I'll just take down, I'll say this person, you know, due to cultural blah, 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 doesn't want to admit to depression, however, they meet all 9 indices. So we don't have to argue. The other thing that we'll do, I'll know particularly in my Asian and my black clients, we somaticize a lot. So particularly my elderly black clients where there's been like a lot of stigma. I don't mean to say that all my older black clients won't say, but they won't usually tell me I'm depressed or I'm anxious. What they'll say is, I have a headache. I'll say, where's your headache? If they point to the back of their head, that's where you typically get a stress headache. A headache that comes here, like in your frontal, like that's a different kind of headache. But if they have a headache here, or they're saying, you know, food doesn't taste the way it used to taste. So now I know they probably have a loss of appetite. Or they say, oh, my stomach, it just don't feel right. I ate my favorite foods. My stomach, it doesn't feel right. So they're letting me know through their body, through their soma, they're letting me know through their physical symptoms that they're not feeling well. And that's the closest that they're gonna tell me that they're depressed. But I know that they didn't come all the way to the clinic or pay me whatever money that they could have done something else just because that their stomach was feeling kind of funny. I know that they're upset. I know that how they're feeling is impacting their regular functioning. So again, I'm not gonna argue with them, and I wish that more mental health clinicians would operate from that, but we're like, no, you're this, you have to have this number, this diagnosis. Who cares? Just give them the remedy, right? Like, who cares? Give them what they need. So the other thing I wanna say too regarding suicide, unfortunately, suicide in ages 10 to 34 among African Americans in 2021 and 2022, we have gone up by the highest group. So if you hear something, see something, say something. So it's a myth that if you ask someone, are you feeling suicidal, that they're gonna commit suicide. The opposite is true. If you ask them, you can get them the help they need. So if you know someone is feeling at risk, I was so happy that Taraji Henson went on Essence and said, hey, I'm suicidal. Because you never know who that is. You would say you have a great career, you're engaged, you have money, you have beauty. It doesn't matter. If you're depressed, you're depressed. It impacts everybody. And so what she did is she did the best thing is she had her friend come over. So if you are depressed, don't feel safe to yourself, have someone come with you. Another thing to do is you can call 1-800-SUICIDE 24/7. You don't have to actually be actively suicidal. You can just feel blue, however you want to say that, and 24/7 it's free. You can call. There's clinics like Airport Marina Counseling Center. You can walk into any hospital 24/7. And when I was at Stanford in training, they had a gentleman who had decided he was going to jump off of a bridge. And he had one person tell him, I care about you, don't do this. This was a stranger. And so he was crying when he recounted the story, and it was one person. He said if that one person hadn't said, please don't do this, I care about you, I love you, he might have taken his life. So just simply telling someone, it seems so simple. There was a long-term study where this physician actually wrote his patients for 20 years, and he followed up with them, and they had a less risk of committing suicide. These were chronic people who had been in a mental hospital, and he simply wrote them a letter and said, I care about you, how are you doing? So if you see something, say something, do something, and also if someone is suicidal, do not leave them alone. The only caveat, if they are violent, you don't want to take a risk to yourself. And if we do call the police, this is something that I wish that everybody knew, is if you call the police and you have someone mentally ill, is tell them. Tell the police. I know that we're ashamed. My brother has mental disabilities. I had to call the sheriff because he pushed my dad. It's very sad, but I said my brother is a disabled vet. He was injured during active duty while a Marine. He is not well. He may not respond to a command. Please don't hurt him. So we have to, it's not a fail-proof thing, but we have to let them know because they're trained, this person's not gonna, follow my command. I'm gonna escalate. I'm going to escalate. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use a stun gun. So if someone's mentally ill, they're going to escalate too. Guess what? They're like, it's on. It's like Malcolm X said, try me, right? It's on and popping at this point. So then they're going to get more people. They're going to call for backup. So, if you can isolate your loved one or someone that can help calm them down. So I had my mother be by his side so she could kind of keep my brother calm. I told the police, and before he went in, I talked to him for 45 minutes. So that's something that we can do. That can literally be life or death in our community because they see the black men and they're scared, and it can be life or death. Something that I really want to count on too, which is so wonderful in church, is that one of the best things, their mantras that you can say that can help you is I am. And then this goes back to Jesus because he never said, I will, I was going to. He's like, I am the way, right? So when I'm going through breast cancer and all these facts are indicating otherwise, I'm like, I am whole, I am healthy, I am more than a conqueror, I'm a Philippians 4:13 woman, and that I am is that they're like, these are the facts, and I'm like, but I live in the truth of what our Lord Savior Jesus Christ has done for my life. So I may have the facts that I have no hair, I may have the facts that I look like I'm going to lose my life, but the truth in my Savior is that I'm a conqueror, so that's where I stand. And I'm almost done. I just want to last thing say is that social also can be a difference between our diagnosis, our social support. So if you have a chronic illness and you bring one person with you, the research shows that you'll retain at least 50% more information. So bring someone with you. Also, it will help you. And the number one reason for negative outcomes, Cedars-Sinai did a study why black women were dying more of breast cancer. They didn't have transportation. So if you bring someone with you, and if your car doesn't work, or if you're short on bus money, or whatever that may be, if you have someone that's going with you, you're more likely to get to your appointment and to live. So I think I covered it. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
Okay, thank you so much. And another point, just a minute, Vicki. Another resource that a number of people aren't aware of, the County of Los Angeles has the PET team, the Psychiatric Emergency Team. I don't have that number, but when you call that number, experts come out and they can help de-escalate without having to bring in the criminal justice system, because we don't do well when that call is made. So thank you again. Thank you, Dr. Vicki Moran, and we just want to say thank you for the excellent presentation today on mental health, because our mental health is just as important as our physical health and our spiritual health. So thank you again, Victoria.
I have to say one quick, sometime we just need an example. So Dr. Ruth K.A.R.E getting her doctorate in psychology with 2 daughters was and remains my example. So sometime we just need to see it to believe it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. I want to thank each and every one of you for having your screens done. And I would like to have Dr. Anthony to come and speak with you because many of us had elevated blood pressure.
All right, folks, it's me again. If anybody had a blood pressure when they were screened above 120 to 130 over 80, what I'd like you to do is make an appointment with your primary doctor to go and evaluate that. So you all know your numbers. You all know your numbers. So it's time now to get checked, because something we didn't talk about is that blood pressure, yes, leads to kidney disease, but kidney disease also, one of the early signs is blood pressure going up. And you all have heard that we are at risk. So if anybody was over here that has a blood pressure, again, above 120 to 130 over 80, you need to see someone rather soon, okay? Within the next 1 to 2 weeks, if you can, make that appointment, please. It's very important. It does not necessarily mean you have hypertension, but it needs to be evaluated for such, because, again, these are over time, but you have to take the onus on yourself to say, hey, it was high, it might not be anything. It could be something, though. So it's always better to intervene when you have one number that's elevated, because something may have been going on here, the food may have made y'all feel really good, and the blood pressure went up, you know, something could be happening during that time, because really your blood pressure fluctuates from minute to minute anyway. But if we don't evaluate it, it doesn't get diagnosed, therefore it cannot be treated, which means that you have shortened your lifespan, okay, by one blood pressure reading. All right? Yes, ma'am. Beets are an excellent source of those antioxidant things that we were talking about. Beets also has not antioxidants particularly, but it raises nitric oxide. It's something that raises nitric oxide in your body, which also is an antioxidant in and of itself, which will help. So beets is actually a good source of that, okay? All right. Oh, one last thing. I'm gonna make sure that y'all have my cards, because if anybody claims they don't have a doctor, I will talk to you over the phone about that blood pressure, okay?
Thank you, Dr. Anthony. Did you all hear that? Full circle. We learned about what the kidney is and what it does. We heard about the history of our being undertreated as a community. And we have a doctor here who said if you don't have somebody, he will have your back. So let's please give another round of applause to Dr. Anthony. And Dr. Adrian Burrows has a word, another member from the Beverly Hills West chapter. Please, Dr. Burrows.
Hi, folks. Sorry to interrupt your program. We urgently, however, have several cars that are being blocked in, some of which up to over an hour now. And I'll list out some of the car license plates and descriptions. If these are your cars, please move them immediately, or else they will be towed. However, more importantly, we do want to allow the persons that are trying to leave to leave. The first one we have here is a blue PT Cruiser with the license plate number 5, P as in Paul, X, P as in Paul, 559. I'll repeat that. That's a blue PT Cruiser, California license plate number 5, P as in Paul, X, P as in Paul, 559. And there are others. One moment, please.
We also have a Honda Civic, gray, 7KEX531, gray Honda Civic, 7KEX531. We also have, it looks a Chrysler, and it has a Sierra Monrovia tag, license plate 7GIK871. And there's one more, and then we'll do our final raffle. And then that's the one I just announced. Okay. All right, so we have our final raffle before we have our presidents come up and do our closing. So if everyone is ready to get those final tickets, we have 3. So I'm going to start with this cookbook that we have. It's a great renal cookbook. and it focuses on a lot of, healthy recipes based on everything that was discussed today. So the first ticket that I'm calling for our final raffle, the last 3 digits are 333. All right, we have a winner for our cookbook. All right, so we have 2 more, so everyone cross their fingers. So we have our final, $100 at Whole Foods. So let's get our last 2 raffles. Final 3 digits, 350. 350, final 3 digits. All right. So one more. What do you say? Last 3 digits, 396. All right, we have a winner right here, and this is our final gift certificate for Whole Foods right here. Raise your hand, yeah. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you again also to all of our incredible panelists and speakers. And to close out our program, I would like to invite back to the stage 2 incredible chapter presidents, Dr. Cheryl Rue and Kimberly Noble, president of the Los Angeles chapter, who will give us some closing remarks. Come on up, fabulous ladies. Oh.
And real quick, a Kathleen, a Tony, and Angela, a Lorraine, and a Mary. That'd be Alice, Henderson, Rivera, Brown, and Johnson. We have a little gift for you over here at the Watts table.
One and all, this has been an amazing day, wouldn't you say? Let us applaud every single one of our panelists, each and every one of you being here and acknowledging how important the kidney is. It's life-saving to follow each and every one of these elements. And what I thought was really ideal, the juicing, the lunch, and everything just fit right in line with all these healthy tips. So thank you so much. And thank you, of course, to the Beverly Hills West chapter, our president, Cheryl, her members in committee, as well as our members in committee of the Los Angeles chapter, beginning with Laurel and Belinda and all the rest of the team that's worked so hard. Thank you, one and all. Let's applaud them all. Thank you.
And again, thank you all for coming. This was a wonderful event. We had a great time putting it together. Now that you all know why the kidneys are important, right? And they are. We would like to thank our partners. We thank FAME again. We thank our speakers, Dr. Anthony, Dr. Oliver Brooks for bringing Watts Health to us today. We thank the National Kidney Association. And we again thank all of you because you've learned some things that you didn't know before. And so be sure you take that back to somebody that wasn't here. I also want to thank our GEMS, our Girls Empowered, Motivated, and Strong, who drew all the pictures, and they came here today to learn some more about kidney health, so we thank them, and the parent who brought them or a teacher who brought them, so thank you. We want to thank Lisa. Where is Lisa Grant, our Black Care coordinator? Yes, and this was the first time we collaborated with another Links chapter, and LA chapter, it was wonderful. This was a beautiful marriage. We have to do this again. All right, thank all of you. Have a wonderful weekend. Okay, as you depart, we have one other meditation. Where is Lisa? Oh, here we go. How many of you have heard of sound baths or sound bowls? So Lisa is a professional. It's not her only job, but this is one of her jobs. A professional sound bath person, and she is going to bring our mood down, right? Calm us, give us a good spirit. So Lisa. Okay, guys, we have a Chrysler 200, license plate 7GIK871. And actually, your tags are expired because it's July 2022. Now, I know somebody knows their tags are expired. But this car is about to be towed because the people really want to get out. So a Chrysler 200, 7GIK 871. Okay.
Hello, everybody. As we're departing, I'm going to guide everyone through what's known as a sound bath. And a sound bath is basically a sound meditation. We'll probably do it quickly. Typically, this can last about an hour to an hour and a half. I'm going to probably only do about 10 minutes because I know people have been here for a long time. But a sound bath, think of it as sound meditation where you'll hear a variety of sounds that really can change you. I know. I know. I'm fine, though. So part of what a sound bath is it is something that can happen at a cellular level that changes frequency. It changes at a molecular level. All of my instruments are tuned at either 432 hertz or more. And so I'm just going to share some of that with you guys now.